For a determination of quorum, we have everyone here. Everyone is present. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Give me a second. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. So do we have any additions or adoptions or, anything we want to do to the agenda? Exactly.
Jim, I think you wanted to move several of the items.
Right. I'm going to move several things, but I didn't know if you guys had any,
I do not.
anything. Okay. I would like to pull out the approval of the proclamation for the police and place it where we can comment on that. That's A. And I'd like to pull out C and F. And guys, just let me know where to put that.
We need a motion for that.
Cover it when you.
You'll just approve the agenda as amended.
Yeah.
Okay.
So those will go under new business?
Yes.
He just asked.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion.
Do you want
to the amended agenda?
Do you want to put that under,
New business.
New business.
right, I get that, but what, okay, All right.
Just put it first.
yeah, discussion of board advisory, A, C, and F.
It'll follow in with B, C, and D. Proclamation, the resolution, and the Harlow's Crossing bond.
A, B, C, and D, okay? All right. Can I get a motion?
You got a motion.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. Agenda is so approved as stated. Let's read the conflict of interest. In accordance to state law, it is the duty of every council member to avoid conflicts of interest. Does any council member have any known conflict of interest with respect to any matter on this agenda? If so, please identify the conflict and refrain from any participation in the matter mentioned or involved. Any conflicts? No conflicts, no stated, okay? Mayor and council member reports. Anybody want to go first?
Well, I can go ahead and go first. I know that we're going to be discussing HB 765 here in just a minute, so you will learn more about what that particular piece of legislation is that's up in Raleigh. On May the 22nd at 7 o'clock in Waxhaw will be the next meeting of the Western Union Municipal Alliance. We will have representatives, state representatives, Willis, Arp, and Brody in attendance. And we're going to be talking about this type of legislation that you're going to be hearing about here in a few minutes. And I would say that if you listen closely to what's going to be discussed, you may want to be down in Waxhaw at 7 o'clock on Thursday, the 22nd, to ask your representatives what they're doing about this and why one of them sponsored the bill. And that's all I got.
Yeah. Anyone else?
I won't be here at the June meeting.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so we'll talk about that later for you two at the June meeting. I'm going to say something to Tom.
Actually, I have no comment. I'm going to save mine for the discussion on HB 765 because I'm very passionate about this subject. It is the war. We got to pay attention to that.
And I totally agree. And I was going to speak up and say too, I appreciate Union County Commissioner Brian Helms being here tonight. I've asked him to, in our public comments section, speak about that. And I'll speak more about that later on too. But Monday night at the commissioners meeting, he did a deep dive into it and revealed a lot of stuff. If you guys didn't see it or haven't seen it, I suggest you go to it. He did an awesome job in his delivery and what he did on that bill. So it's devastating. But we'll talk more about it later. Nothing else? All right. We're going to move on to presentation. Some WCWAA. It's Wesley Chapel Weddington Athletic Association. Come on up, guys.
Thank you.
Mayor, council members, thank you very much for having us and everybody else in attendance tonight. My name is Max Anthony and I'm president of WCWA. I've been president for the last 13 years. And I have Roseanne Gross with me, who is a baseball board member and also an active parent of kids that are participating in the program. We'd love to present to you all tonight some information about WCWA. And in the interest of acclimating the council who may not be familiar and asking with the intent of a partnership, we've talked with the council in the town before, and we'd like to put that back in front of you all to see if we could formalize something more specifically. We're not asking for anything specific tonight. However, we wanted to share with you where we stand. For those of you who are not familiar, we're right down the road on Highway 84. We have 5,000 youth that we serve on an ongoing basis from ages 4 to 18. We've been around for 43 years. We are a nonprofit run completely by volunteers. We work in conjunction with the Optimists, and there's a dual ownership of the property that we cover on the 50 acres right down the road. We have sports that include basketball, softball, baseball, football, that's both flag and tackle. We have cheerleading, we have soccer, which is our largest program. We have wrestling that we started. I was fortunate enough to start that program for us about 10 years ago. And we also have a special needs program that we call Take On Sports. We don't receive any federal, local, state, or any municipal funding at all. It's completely driven by membership dues as well as sponsorships. We wanted to share a little bit about the impact that our organization has on the community. And Rose was going to share a little bit about her particular experience being a current mom who came from a faraway place and was welcomed with open arms and a playing field, no pun intended, where it allowed her family to be integrated quickly into the community.
So I wanted to speak before you because WCWA is a very special place for not only for myself and my husband, but for my two boys. We recently moved here about 3.5 years ago as many transplants are coming to the area. We were nervous, didn't really know what to expect. And in order to gain my oldest son's trust going, he was so excited to play on his first ever baseball team. It was so unique that at WCWA, we were welcomed with open arms. We made friendships that have now become our family. He has played there for the past 7 years consistently. I have become an active role in helping the organization move forward. And it makes a huge impact, not only on our youth, but on our community. The friendships that they have made, the bonds that they have made have not only carried within the organization, but over into our communities, into our schools. And it is something I wanted to stress to you guys moving forward about how important just youth sports are in general, with anxiety, depression, the technology world, what it provides for these kids to be able to come out and to have these outlets and to gain different strengths through WCWA.
I'm at the other end. I'm closer to grandkids at the park than I am to my own. But I can speak from personal experience. My daughter's working in the NFL. She started playing at the sport, was playing at the park many moons ago. Another one in college who was the leading tackler on the 2023 Weddington football team state champions. You all know Will Shipley, who's playing in the NFL, got his start and has been giving back to the park for a long time. I was fortunate to coach him coming through. We have 3 kids that are young men at this point playing at Air Force, West Point, Army, as well as Navy football, just out of this crop of football players that came out of high school and in their freshman year. We've got many other young women and men who have come back to their community, maybe haven't gotten to the NFL, but they got their start at WCWA. So the leadership that it creates lasts a lifetime. The goodness of this community, the success of our programming, all starts with WCWA. Moving on, I know you all have a full agenda tonight. we have about $2 million worth of deferred maintenance that is built up over time, being a 43-year-old organization that funds itself. We've been very fortunate to have several significant donors give us a lot of money to give us the ability to create the turf fields. That $2 million needs to help with storm drainage, needs to help with the cost of upkeeping these turf fields, as well as our lighting. Our lighting is antiquated. They're not LEDs, they're inefficient, and so we're going to have to start making some pretty significant outlays. I think we can move forward one more slide, and we'll just about round us out. We had a significant loss. One of my very best friends, who I spoke to for over a decade, passed away of a heart attack. He was a staple at WCWA. Some of you all may know him as George Sella in the room, and he took care of our facility. He ran our soccer program. He passed away of a heart attack. So we lost a key person that was the fiber of the organization, kept us together. We decided that we're going to create an executive director position. Being run by volunteers with only a couple of paid positions, it costs money to get the right person that's going to be able to do the financial planning. You all know the risks that we experience in our community today. I don't even want to breathe the word active shooter. Some of our members have been subject to that in our baseball program and another organization. That takes a lot of organization to keep us safe, to keep the planning, to do all of this work. All of us have day jobs that are in the midst of it now, and some of that partnership is what we would like to induce the town to help us with. So finally, we just simply put some information up here about what we could do together with common events, using our space in an organized way that didn't interrupt the programming. But we've got a lot that we can do. I would suggest that is one of the best attributes of the town. Not the only good attribute, but one of the best attributes. But I'm hugely biased. So thank you all very much for your time in letting us speak with you today. Next time my wife will be here, but she had a pretty rough surgery today. And she allowed me to stand in for her. But I am still the president, so I guess that still counts. And we're very grateful to have Roseanne too. Thank you all.
Great. Thank you for coming. Thank you. Okay, presentation for fiscal year 2023-2024 by Audit and Creighton. And come on up.
Okay, just a few highlights of the audit this year. If you look at the,
And I'm gonna get you to pull your mic down.
if you will look at the audit, you will see that there's, for those of you who don't know, there's two sets of financial statements in there. One is what we call the net position statement, which tells us everything about the accounting of the town of Weddington. It's called full accrual basis. And it has all of the receivables, all of the payables, all of the debt, everything to do with the town of Weddington. That net position from 22-23 to 23-24 increased by $1,888,086. That's impressive. The other set of financial statements is called our fund balance statements, which is basically the way the town runs. It does not have, it is basically current assets and current liabilities. And so then you come up with a fund balance, which for 23-24 was $8,371,209. That's an increase of $1,979,579. That is coming about because of collection rates, due diligence of Kim. Collection rate is about 98.32%, so she stays on them to collect all that money. There was a state grant of $724,800, about $725,000, where it was a state infrastructure fund. So that's restricted money, and so they're using that to do some tax rate going down from 4.5 down to 2.5. That was because part of the taxes are the trash. and we only had a half a year for the trash last year. So that increased by 666,000. Of the fund balance that you use to operate the town of Weddington, 1,255,989 is restricted because of capital construction commitments, state statute of limitations, prepaid expenses, things like that. But the rest of it, which is 7,115,526, is what I would like to call as the savings account of the town of Weddington. That's what you can spend for community events, things that you community better. There's still a little bit of money left from the ARPA fund that you can spend this year, and I'm pretty sure that's going to be spent. And it has to be done by September 26th.
Yeah.
She's been watching that very closely. Weddington has no debt whatsoever to speak of, except for what we call capital leases, unrestricted funds, which is for the copiers, the printers, software subscriptions, things like that. Now, I don't know whose bright idea that was, but we have to do it that way. And what it is basically capital leases. And so we have to take the monthly payments and make a calculation over the total cost of those and come up with an asset and a liability that are equal to each other. So that's what we have to do. But other than that, there is no debt to the financial statements at all. To protect the town of Weddington, the board has come up and says that we must maintain a capital balance of 50% of the general fund expenditures. You know what yours is? 161.99%. That is also impressive. Anything else? Any questions or anything from anybody?
Council?
No, I think that everybody in this room needs to thank this lady sitting right up here in the front, Leslie, because she is, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the lady that keeps us in that position.
Oh, I know.
And
It's awesome.
and this town is, we're lucky to have her.
We are. Thank you.
Leslie.
Y'all have a lot to do with that too.
Yeah.
And we're
Thank
looking
you.
forward to hearing,
Spend the money.
yeah, we're gonna look forward to hearing a lot from you next month with
Yes.
the budget.
Right. Any more questions, any comments?
Good job, Ann.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay. Public comments, and as Debbie gets the sheet here, I want to read this. This is our rules for public hearings and public comments. Public comments are limited to 4 minutes. Public hearings are limited to 3. Comments are to be directed at the board here and not for individuals and not be looking out. A designated spokesman for a group of 3 or more may be allotted 6 minutes to speak. At least 3 members of that group must be present, and their names and addresses, and those members must be present and presented their information to the town clerk. You must be civil in your language, presentation, and act within reasonable standards of courtesy. Use of slander, name calling, personal attacks, threatening speech, or misbehavior is prohibited. Audience must maintain an order and decorum in their conduct. Please refrain from disruptive applause, comments, or disorderly speaking during the meeting. Disturbances will be prohibited. Failure to abide by these rules after receiving notice from the mayor may result in termination of your comment period or removal from the meeting. So, okay, we have several here. Now, I'm sorry if I can't read some of the names here. Is it Charles? Thank you. Come on up.
Not a local name, is it?
Glad to have you.
I'm Charles Bondurant. I reside in Arrow Plantation at 646 Brandy Court, about 1,000 feet bordering with the Deal family. Understanding that, Mr. Mayor and Council, you gave instruction that we're not to make comments about the toll development. I will make a couple of comments that at least recognize my position with regard to being a neighbor, if that's acceptable, number one, and then charge the council, at least from the perspective of things, one point to consider.
Let's keep it to the, let's keep it away from toll, okay?
Very fair.
Okay.
So as a neighbor of the Deal family, I've enjoyed both their stewardship and their care of the land. I found them to be good neighbors, and I hope we've proven ourselves to be good neighbors as well. From that perspective, the decisions that you make, collectively the decisions they make, I'd charge you with this and simply ask that as you consider the bearing of your decision in light of the members of this community, we'd ask that you would also consider with weight the cost of future disputes that may come from these decisions. A decision lacking certainty relies upon assumptions revealed in the solvent of dispute. To that extent, we will trust upon your ability to make a well-informed decision. I'd ask certainly that you exercise insight and rely upon that.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Jack Brandon?
Councilmember, Mayor, I'm Jack Brayman. I live at 963 Woods Loop in Arrow Plantation. And I've been attending all the meetings and studying the plan, and I have many concerns.
Let's keep this away from toll, okay? Make sure you do that.
I plan to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'll respect that. It's a very sensitive land full of wildlife, and that's what drove me to Arrow Plantation. The plan does not seem to address these areas to ensure that it's protected. The facts presented at the public hearing, they're overwhelming. We had over 40 speakers. Probably what hit me the most was the dissatisfaction with some of our neighboring neighborhoods in Bromley, Enclave, at Barkley and Luna, and some others. And now we want to continue on and develop another piece of land that's probably the most environmentally sensitive land in Weddington. Right now, the town cannot keep up with the inspections and compliance with the developments that are underway. In fact, the town is looking for a new engineering group and is looking to hire additional staff. Why should we approve this? How can we enforce this? What fines will be placed on non-compliance? How can we fix such a delicate ecosystem if it's damaged? That's a big question. It's a very complex ecosystem. How do we fix it if it's damaged? I'm not pointing to any builder. I'm pointing to we have to be thoughtful in the development of an ecosystem of this nature. Now, hey, I'm not an activist. I've never spoken in public about anything, but I care about this because our neighbors care about this. If I was a council member and I had 40 members of our community speaking out loudly, you've been given facts, not just one fact, not about the Eagles, not about the dam. There's 20 facts that I could.
Keep it away from the development, okay? Or we'll have to stop. One more time, I'll ask you to stop, okay?
I'm just speaking about the
I
fact
know
that we.
you are. They're facts, but you've got to keep it away from toll and the development.
I
Okay?
haven't talked about toll.
Well, you have. You've alluded to it.
What I've
and you're
talked
talking
about, there
the-
are decisions that are being made within
I
Arrow
understand.
potentially, and it's an
Do you wanna continue or
environmentally
do you wanna
sensitive
stop?
area.
Do you want to continue or do you want to stop?
I'll continue.
Okay.
All I ask is that as council members, be responsible, be thoughtful, represent your constituents, because you know what your constituents want. That land, I want it to be developed. We all want it to be developed, but in the right way. Thank you very much.
Okay, Kathy. Kathy is on is it Longview, 5012 Longview.
I'm Kathy Kilo Brown. I live on Longview. And I'll just, 90% of this just evaporated. But I'll read you what I can.
Okay.
Weddington is a special place with special people who all choose to live here. I'm sorry. For obvious reasons. I'm just asking the mayor and council to represent the residents Each of you were elected, you are not appointed. This is your opportunity to prove that voters' faith in you to protect our town and our quality of life was well deserved. You took an oath to represent Weddington residents when you were sworn in, and you did so with your hand on a Bible. Now's the time to confirm representation.
Thank you, Kathy. Okay. Kim Topalian. And let's keep the applause, okay?
Okay. Well, obviously, what I was going to talk to you about was Toll Brothers. I would like to say, too, that just a quick search on whether that's legal or not for you to be a town council generally cannot prevent residents from speaking on an issue listed on the agenda during a public meeting. And I can send you all the legal cases where that was so. But I do think, talking about going into legal ramifications, I think taking away residents' voice during public comment is a very slippery slope. You're allowing Toll Brothers to talk about what's on the agenda, but you're not allowing residents. So I obviously was going to discuss more things, but let me get to since I have 4 minutes, I'm going to use them. Okay. So I sent an email earlier today. I didn't hear back from a lot of the town council members, so I'll just read what I can from that. Dear elected town officials and town staff, Leon and I want to express our concerns and thoughts. Well, I can't say what it's about, but I guess you'll know, and why we believe certain people should be denied. The most important reasons, and I can't. I will just talk about here, the application should be complete. And just because our town planner, if he makes a mistake and says something's complete when it's not complete, that's where that bill is going to come into effect. Because if small towns are not working in holding their staff accountable and making legal decisions, I think that is when state can come in. But I'll just leave that there. Our town planner made the decision to allow things to go further. Then he should have stopped the process. However, his mistakes does not mean that it's complete. Our planner needs to be held accountable so that the town is not put in these situations. There are so many smart and professional neighbors who have been discussing the multiple reasons why certain projects should not be approved. I think it is concerning, and I called them my name out in a particular text chain or email chain, but I will just say, I think it's concerning for town council members who are so avidly supportive of and have vocally to residents even said that they were supportive. I think it is unprofessional for them to not go to those public meetings when the town shows up and gives their comments, because now you're going to be voting and you haven't heard from all the town. You heard from the people who could attend and who were in attendance, but you have not heard from all the town members. And in fact, let me just say this, do not attend okay. In fact, residents are mocked by the planning board, and even it was brought up here about things being copy and pasted. I do not think that it's appropriate to mock residents who email and take the time to. We don't want to have to be up to date on every single project. I can promise you, we have lives too. We don't want to be here at this meeting, but we feel like we. Is that 4 minutes or 3? Okay.
Thank you, Ken.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Chad, Imran?
Let's see how you can dance around the subject.
We can see a lot of it's gone. Good evening, Chad Emerine, 953 Eagle Road, Narrow Plantation. I want to thank all the council members for your service to Weddington. And I just wanted to speak to comments that I've heard at previous council meetings as far as voting decisions going forward. A council member in January referenced the land use plan as a guide, not a rule. I disagree with that. The land use plan is a mission statement of the town. It guides all decisions. In fact, a land use plan consistency statement is with each decision. This drives the UDO, which the town uses to create rules to help ensure the land use plan is followed. In 2021, through a lot of time, effort, and money, the town adopted the current UDO in place. And then last year, updated the land use plan. Since then, numerous revisions have been in the UDO, a lot beneficial to the town. The land use plan ensures development fits in harmony with the town, protects environmentally sensitive lands, and ensures no negative impacts to existing neighbors and negative impacts to future residents of Weddington. We need to vote going forward on what fits the land use plan, as we have a lot of large development pressure coming at us in the town. To quote Mayor Bell in January, we should not approve what we do not know. We want as a town to approve projects that preserve the character of Weddington and protects our health, safety, and welfare. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you, Chad.
Good job on staying on the topic.
Ellen McLaughlin. Ellen McLaughlin.
Hello, good evening. Thank you for your service. Two off-topic comments, I guess. The first is I am the head of safety and security of Bromley. We had two little incidences, and I just wanted to say thank you to law enforcement. They were amazing. They were responsive. They were professional. They absolutely took some incidences that people were heated and feathers were ruffled, and they diffused these situations impeccably. So I just want to really call that out, because I think things can turn bad and things can turn good, and I really love it when they turn out right. So thank you. The second topic is speaking to today. We have people outside. Doors are open. On a cold night I've been here, when the doors are closed, you can't hear what's going on. I thought one potential recommendation, which would not cost a lot of money, would be to add speakers outside so people can hear what's happening inside. We want to continue to build community and have a feeling of inclusivity, and that would be a simple little amendment that we could make.
As you know, we're streaming, so you can not only hear, but
I
you can watch
understand
as well. So,
but people are outside tonight.
Yeah.
Right. And for maybe $40, they could hear a little bit better.
and you can watch too on your phone.
Thank
Just a
you.
reminder. Thank you.
We will consider that. I think that's reasonable.
Okay, Randy Hood. Come on up, Randy. Thank you, Ellen.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, thank you for allowing us to be here tonight to be able to speak. Like everybody else, not going to be talking about Toll Brothers tonight. We appreciate what you do. I know everybody gets up here, and I know it's gotten angry at times, and there's been some words spoken, but y'all have a hard job. I have a really, really, really hard job. And we may get up here, and we may have some consternation. We may not always agree on things. We appreciate what y'all do, because without you, the things that the financial people were talking about would not be accomplished in the manner in which it was accomplished. And so thank you so much for that. You know, Einstein said, or it's attributed to Einstein, that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. And, you know, I'm not here to talk about any specific developer. I'm just talking about development in perspective, the perspective of development. We're new here, me and my wife. And we came here because of the character and the people here and the fantastic community that has grown here. Her surrogate mother is Patty Shipley. It's Will's grandma. And my wife lost her mama, and Patty has kind of stepped into that fold and we've gotten to know the Shipleys, and we've gotten to know members of this community. And y'all are fabulous people. But that's why we're here. And we want to preserve the character of that. And when development, I told brothers, development is probably a curse for y'all because it provides tax base. But at the same time, if it's done in a way that is not in a responsible manner, it can create immense difficulties. And the way there's a process. I didn't even think I was going to read from a thing. There's a process, and some of the people who are engineers here may understand this. Review the track record, recognize the pattern, reject repeating the same mistake. The 3 R's. And in your difficult job today, in your difficult job tonight, I would ask you to adhere to those 3 R's in making any decisions that are going to affect the character and viability of this town. Once again, I appreciate you. I'll leave you with this. I'm Southern. I'm from Georgia. I'm from small town Georgia. We were hunting when I was 6 years old. I had a gun at 6, and that's the way I was raised. I love small Southern towns. They resonate with me. But I'm going to leave you with this. My granddaddy told me that if someone shows you who they are, you believe them. It's as simple as that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Commissioner Helms, I'm going to move you to the last. You're next, but I'm going to move you to the last, so I don't think I missed you. Debbie Moffitt.
Well, I'm glad that went after that gentleman because I also agree with his sentiments. It's not my first time in front of you guys. I'm winging it now because my notes, actually, you know what? My notes really are centered around my backyard. It's my backyard I'm concerned about. It's not the first developer that will. There's another development that's going to create runoff. And Arrow Plantation is a very beautiful, environmentally sensitive area. We'll leave it at that. Because we've already heard tonight, we started out the meeting with the WCAA talking about what? Water and all the issues that have occurred by builders not being responsible. What about Bromley? What about Enclave? It's about the water. Let's be responsible. Please listen to us. We made it clear what we want. The current residents that are here. We want responsible growth by responsible builders. We want to keep the character of Weddington what it is, and that includes our land use plan and our UDO and our beautiful trees, because we've sacrificed a lot of those now lately too. Please protect Weddington. Our town is one of a kind. Let's keep it Southern. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you.
Sarah Toll.
My name is Sarah Jewell. I'm speaking at the County Commissioners School Board, but this is my first time here because usually people of Weddington, they take care of business. They know what's happening. They're pretty well informed. But I've lived in Weddington actually 20 plus years. Some of those years I lived in Arrow Plantation, and all the people that have lived there know what an amazing place it is. It's magical. My kids talk about that being some of the best years of their lives growing up because of the nature, the fish they caught, just everything that goes through your backyard. I chose, after living in Arrow, to live in Providence Woods South. And I'm off a tributary of 6 Mile Creek. We got 12 Mile Creek, 6 Mile Creek, 9 Mile Creek. Like everyone talked about, it's the water and being good stewards of the land. And it's not just Weddington. I know a lot of people are like, got to keep Weddington small. But if you go to the county commission, you're going to see farmers there designating their land. I forget the terminology. Brian would probably know. So that it can't be developed. They're designated their land for generations. Yeah, conservation. So it's not just Weddington, even though we all love Weddington. That's one of the reasons I moved here a long time ago. But, the roads, the schools, the infrastructure, it's all going to be affected by the rapid growth. And the land just can't absorb the water. I mean, I was driving here, and if you drove here past any new development, you saw the runoff, the water. Your creek that was a dribble is now a river that used to be, 2 feet wide, 3 feet deep. Now it's undercutting the trees that are on it. And because we have such a small tax base, if you live on a creek and those trees are going to come on your house, hey, do you have $100,000 to build a retaining wall? Can you afford to get all those trees taken down that were, feet from the creek that now aren't? So these are all issues that residents have that live here. And so we just expect people to be good stewards of the land, good stewards of the environment. That's why we all moved here. But it's not just Weddington. It's happening throughout Union County. So I just hope that, you hear the people and you make the right decisions for our town and then Brian will speak about the county. He's concerned about some of the things that are happening in Raleigh. And another thing, a lot of people here, we know how this county votes. Y'all are voting for people, no impact fees, a lot of stuff. So we're voting for these people and we're not holding them accountable. So I think it's important to know who you're voting for and what they stand for and if they follow through on what they tell you. So that's it.
Thank you, Sarah. Bob Hornick.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. I'm usually on the other side of the table, so I appreciate the hard work you guys do. I really, really do. It's not an easy position to be in to make a tough decision. And I'm not here to speak about the project whose name shall not be spoken. So, but I have 4 or 5 propositions of law that I just want to lay out. First, I was happy to see the conflict of interest statement. I would just remind the board members that with respect to legislative zoning decisions, I'm just going to quote you the law. And I'm sure your attorney would tell you this anyway, but a governing board member shall not vote on any zoning amendment if the landowner of the property subject to a rezoning or the applicant for a text amendment is a person with whom the member has a close familial, business, or associational relationship. So, it's a pretty broad statement. So just would ask you all to be conscious of that as you think about it. The other 3 propositions I want to talk about is just about your UDO. One is that I noticed that the UDO does not provide or say anything specific about vested rights or site-specific development plans. And I would say to the board, the council, that you can't grant a 5-year vested right unless your ordinance authorizes you to do that. So, and that's for consideration in any application. I also had written a letter to you all a couple of months back, and there's 2 points I want to make with respect to that. One is you have to follow the procedural requirements of your ordinance whenever you're faced with a zoning amendment decision. And that includes requiring an application to be complete. So keep that in mind as you're considering the application. The last thing I want to remind the board is that this is the decision that some might consider later on is a legislative zoning decision. And there is plenty of law out there that says that you are not compelled to approve request for a zoning map or a zoning text amendment. As a matter of fact, the courts will infrequently overturn, almost never overturn, a denial of a rezoning request or text amendment. So don't be fearful when you're making decisions about zoning map amendments or text amendments that a court is going to tell you what to do. If you were to say no, more likely than not, the court is going to agree with you and let your decision ride. So those are the only comments I want to make, and I hope you keep them all in your minds as you're deliberating this evening. And thanks very much.
Great. Thank you, Bob. Thank you for coming. Chris Drost. Hi, thank you for coming.
Hi, my name is Chris Drost. I'm from Bromley. Thank you all for being here. I'm kind of like off the top of my head here, but the most thing I want to bring home to you guys is rights and responsibilities. Landowners have the right to sell their land. Developers have the right to develop that land. It is up to you to make sure they do so responsibly. We have a situation in this town. I almost said my old hometown in Randolph because they went through the same thing. And my bedroom town in New Jersey is now not quite a bustling metropolis, but it isn't the same friendly hometown that I raised my kids in. You have a responsibility to protect our environment. You have a responsibility to the neighbors where the development is being put in to make sure that development does not impact the neighbors, or if it does, that there is remediation in place that the developer will correct whatever happens. And that doesn't mean in 2 years, that means 10, 15, 20 years. And that's all I wanted to say. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Chris. Did I miss anyone besides Commissioner Helms? Okay. Union County Commissioner Helms, come on up. Thank you for coming tonight.
Thanks for having me. Good evening, Mayor, council members. Again, it's good to be here. What a crowd you guys have today. Listen, I wanted to just say a few words about HB 765, and I think most everybody knows that our board Monday night voted unanimously to adopt a resolution against that item, and I wanted to come before you guys tonight and encourage you guys to do the same as a board. Some of the lowlights from this bill, if you're not familiar with it, is, well, it attacks density, that's for sure. In its original version, HB 765 includes revisions in General Statute 160D-703 that would require 5 houses per acre by right. So not conditional rezoning, but by right. It goes into a lot of other things, just a few items here. Voting and conflicts of interest. So the proposed amendment to this section says the following, that a member has a fixed opinion prior to the hearing on the matter and is not susceptible to change. So what that does is that prevents a council member or a commissioner or a mayor, but it prevents you from essentially voting your conscience here. And furthermore, I mean, how do you even campaign? How do you inform the voters of your stance on items? I guess the writers of this bill figured that, with the other changes included here, we wouldn't need to vote on anything land development oriented anyway. So it also addresses sewer, water, sewer, and sewer plants. Basically, it puts the onus on the utility provider to keep providing sewer till the end of time. And we've seen, how this affects the ratepayers because we've looked at sewer plants in the past. But ultimately, what this does is it jacks up your water and sewer rates. And this is not just a Union County problem. This affects everybody in this room that's on water or sewer. So what it does is it subsidizes developments. That's what development. It subsidizes development on the backs of the ratepayers. Package plants, those have been a big topic here and elsewhere, but don't worry, House Bill 765 fixes all that because it essentially allows package plants and wastewater systems to be installed anywhere. I mean, this bill really just goes on and on and on, but I would think that the most important part, and ultimately how it would affect everybody here tonight, is that it removes the ability of citizens to petition local government on land use decisions. And that's a problem. So what is HB 765? Well, it's entitled the Save American Dream Act, but it should be called the Developers Dream Act. So this bill destroys local government authority over zoning, density, and utilities, and subsidizes residential development on the backs of the taxpayers and the ratepayers. It's a developer's dream come true that sells out our county and also Weddington for greed. Don't believe me? You can look at the primary sponsors. You know, one of those primary sponsors was mentioned earlier. I'll name names. So we've got 4 primary sponsors. You got Jeff Zinger from Forsyth County. He's a general contractor and developer. Don't believe me? You can look it up on North Carolina General Assembly's website. Union County's own Mark Brody. He's listed as a contractor. Matthew Winslow from Franklin and Vance counties. He's listed as a home builder. Only one of the 4 primary sponsors is outside of development and real estate. And that's Carla Cunningham. She's a registered nurse. Look at the secondary sponsors. 2/3 of them have direct ties to real estate and development. So I'm sure that the folks that I'll wrap up. That's okay. Listen, you know, this has been hailed as an affordable housing act. I would say that in the past 20 years, we've seen, you know, what development does. There's nothing in this bill that's going to cap the price of homes. That's all driven by the market. I would just say this, that this bill moves the needle away from the people. All right. Local government is the closest level of government to the people. And when you remove those decisions from local government, you are essentially telling people that your voice doesn't matter. And so again, I'm happy to discuss this with any of you, you know, outside of the meeting, but I would encourage you to take a stance against it.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Helms, for being here. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to our consent agenda. Pardon me? Oh, I skipped right over. I'm sorry. Public safety, and I think that's Lieutenant May this time. Thank you, Lieutenant May, for being here.
Doesn't hurt my feelings at all, Mayor. You're good. No, I am James May. I'm a lieutenant for Sheriff Eddie Cathy. Normally, Deputy Wren provides your public safety report, but he's actually on a motorcycle ride to Washington, D.C. for the police week. So you'll just have to suffer through me this evening. But I'm sure that he's sitting under an overpass right now regretting his decision. And we're here in this dry room. But just an overall report for the Weddington area. Our 5 deputies now continue to be proactive throughout the area. We've not seen what we would consider any major felony crimes in the area. However, we have continued to conduct our normal traffic operations focused on speed, impaired driving, and things like that when it's related to traffic. We've had 3 misdemeanor assault cases, 2 misdemeanor larceny cases, 6 fraud cases. Please continue to refrain from giving out your personal information to anyone that says they're the police and you have an arrest warrant. If we have an arrest warrant for you, we'll come get you, I promise. So that is a promise that we can make at the sheriff's office. We've had 9 possession of narcotics cases that's normally generated from traffic stops that our deputies are conducting, and 1 runaway and 1 elderly abuse case. But with all those numbers being cited, the thing I did as the lieutenant over all the contracts, I oversee Marvin, Wesley Chapel, Weddington, and Lake Park, and I'm blessed to work alongside these great folks. And I ran some statistics today from January through April for just our Weddington deputies, and wanted to highlight those numbers and the work they're doing. In total, out of 5 deputies, through January, or from January through April 2025, there's been 497 traffic stops. Out of that, we've generated 40 arrests, whether that be for narcotics offenses, wanted suspects, anything. Like I said, it's been 40 arrests out of that. And that's all just the Weddington area, nowhere else. Self-initiated activity, which could be a checking on a residence, a business check. It could also be a traffic stop. Just whatever our deputies, when they get out of the car and do something, we call that a self-initiated event. There's been 4,511 of those. just out of those 5 deputies. So these folks are out there working every day. I hope that you see those marked cars sitting on the side of the road and maybe hit the brake pedal a little bit. But our goal is not to scare, but to just let people know, hey, we're trying to do the right thing out here. We're continuing to check these homes while they're on vacation. While folks are on vacation, please use that free residential check on our app and website. That's a great tool that people, especially in this area, have come to really utilize. But unless the board has any questions, I appreciate you allowing me to speak tonight, and I'll let Deputy Wren know that you wish him well.
Any questions, you guys? No questions? Thank you so much for what you guys do
Thank
and
you.
for
Yes,
being
sir.
here. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. On to the consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended?
So moved.
Okay. All in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. Okay. Okay, moving into old business. Item A is ordinance CZ 2025-3, Toll Brothers Weddington Crossing. It's application by Toll Brothers for conditional zoning approval for development of a 62-lot subdivision on Weddington Road. Parcel numbers 061-29109, 0612-6001, 0612-6017, 0612-6017B, 0612-6017C. And I'm going to ask Greg Gordos, our town planner, to go ahead and do a presentation this time.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. I'm going to refrain from reciting my staff report into the record.
I'm going to get you to pull the mic just a little closer so everyone back can hear you as well.
Okay. I've already recited my staff report into the record in the previous month, so I will not be doing that today in respect for the members in attendance and the people who were listening on that date. But I'll repeat the base facts of this case. This is a conditional zoning case for a residential subdivision that is zoned R-CD. That stands for Residential Conservation District. That's the orange category shown on the screen of your local zoning map. And what RCD indicates is that vacant property can be developed in 2 ways. It can be developed as a conservation type subdivision where lots are typically smaller. Our standard is now 18,000 square feet. But in order to obtain those smaller lots, you have to preserve 50% or greater of open space. And in addition, you have to do a few extra steps in the conditional zoning process, in particular with public participation. The second way that a project can be redeveloped is in a just a traditional type of RCD development. This is with basically the Weddington standard. This is 1 acre lots that are 40,000 square feet or larger, that provide at least 10% of the land in open space and provide a 100-foot thoroughfare buffer, landscape buffer around any major thoroughfares, but otherwise is roughly developed in the traditional method of subdivisions that exist throughout Weddington. The case before you is that conventional type development. So the proposal in front of you is on our future land use map, which is found within our comprehensive land use plan. It actually shows us 2 categories, one as agricultural and one as a conservation residential type development. What those categories mean in that plan is the allotted or appropriate density allotted if that property is to be redeveloped. For an agricultural type, which is found to the north of 84, that appropriate designation is 1 unit for every 1.5 acres of land. The proposal in front of you, now known as Weddington Crossing, but previously known as Deal Lake, was applied for in December of 2023. It went before the Weddington Planning Board in December of 2024 and is now before Town Council for a decision in May of 2025 with a public hearing that took place in April of 2025. This is a 62-lot conventional subdivision on 167 acres, so approximately 0.37 dwelling units per acre. And speaking about our land use plan, this more than exceeds the density appropriateness for any land use category in this area. So this would be considered in land use plan standards as a low density development, given the amount of acreage that is allotted to the property. This has gone through several iterations, at least 4 significant iterations that the town has reviewed. But we've gone over that previously. I'd like to focus on the site plan that's on your screen, and that's submitted today and is identical to the site plan that was recommended for approval by the Weddington Planning Board. These 62 lots are located on both the north and south side of the property. There are 3 points of ingress egress, all onto Weddington Road. Those ingress and egress points would be right in, right out only per the traffic impact study, and should be aligned with the redevelopment of Weddington Road and the Ray Road extension. So the availability of infrastructure is key here, and that this development would be developed at the same time as potential DOT improvements to the town of Weddington. Other notable features on this site plan is, again, the 100-foot thoroughfare buffer, so 100 feet between the edge of the right-of-way of the road and where the actual private lots would begin. These are to be landscaped by the applicant, and as one of the conditions, a design plan for that landscaping needs to be approved by the town. And the other key design feature here is the designations of the wetlands, streams, environmental areas, and open space. So approximately 5 acres of this development is in a stream buffer side, or on the east side, and then another 4 on the west side. Over 13 acres of this property is within a floodplain, and another approximate acre is actually a wetlands. So these are federal designations of what a wetland or a floodplain would be, and are indicated on your plans there. Some of the key designations for that is that key streams and waterways as designated by the federal government need to be protected, and that you can't have development within them, or there's a vegetative buffer, a protected buffer around them. The primary buffer is shown here on your screen, starting at this pond that is existing and goes down to the Dealer Arrow Lake that is partially located on this property. There are other tributaries shown on the property, in particular on the north side, that result in some irregular shapes. Those are key considerations tonight in terms of appropriateness of the project. And then lastly, the major talking point in a number of our public meetings and public communications has been the Eagle's Nest, which has been identified and labeled by Fish and Wildlife. There's a 660-foot radius from that center point of where the eagles were identified to the project site, and it's located here and identified by the circle. There's to be no development within that 660 feet. That 330 and 660 is a federal designation, but the site plan as it's shown today does not have any development within that. I think that's a key understanding of all parties, including staff and the town council, that any development in there is non-negotiable and should be discouraged, whether that's in the form of a barrier or a conservation designation where it cannot be disturbed and is protected in perpetuity. At bare minimum, it needs to be in common open space and no private property located within it. And that's what's shown on your plans today. With that, I would just limit it. Any other discussion, any questions, comments, or concerns you can have? Again, I read my staff's report into the record last month, and staff's recommendation at that time was with significant conditions. Staff recommended approval and moving this item along from the planning board to the town council for your consideration and vote tonight.
Okay. Thank you, Greg. And before we move on, not that any of the rest of it was important, but we are streaming, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm going to turn it over to the council for discussion and consideration, then I'll hold my thoughts till later, or if I need to jump in or want to jump in, but I'll let you guys go first. Does anybody want to go first? Ladies?
I have very little to say. I feel like we've talked about this since the beginning of time. I don't know that the conditions are pre-approved. I'm not sure there's much else to hash up.
Okay.
Do you have any questions for them?
I mean, I don't necessarily have any questions off the top of my head, but I would like to discuss like concerns that we as a council may have. So, I mean, what are the concerns? What concerns do you have?
Well, I know, Greg, you said that the conditions, I mean, that basically most of the things that we've been talking about as being concerns, as being, things that people are worried about, stormwater runoff. I know there's a massive section in the conditions for use on that, the tree conservation. Not to have you reread the whole thing, but can you kind of summarize the things that have been agreed to on this that address the concerns that you have heard, that you're aware of, that people have stated, not just tonight, but in the previous 17 months?
Yes. So we started out when this project was brought before the planning board in 2024. We roughly had 3 conditions. They were largely around stormwater and septic concerns. As a result of some other development that was in town around the time of this this planning board action, the town took a comprehensive look at our tree protection and our tree save ordinance and worked to update that through the subcommittee, the planning board, then ultimately adoption by the town council. So tree protection was of utmost importance for any future development. This application came in, unfortunately, well before that tree protection plan was updated. So the main negotiation point from a staff perspective to today between the town and Toll was to establish those tree protections as best we can while still acknowledging their vested rights as an applicant who provided their site plan early. And I think the best compromise we've come to recently is that all penalties that are found in our current UDO would apply to this project, and this is found in your conditions. That means for any tree that's cut down that was not required to be, it's particularly a heritage tree, the penalty would be $800 per inch per tree. And that's at a limit of $50,000 per tree. So if they cut down 10 trees that were heritage trees that they weren't supposed to, you can see the significant financial penalty that would place on the developer. We hope that is a strong deterrent to any actions that would negatively impact Weddington.
And they have agreed to that.
Correct.
Thank you. And the stormwater, can you briefly summarize? Because I know there's concern about, if the potential of stormwater issues or runoff, about how, the third-party monitoring, et cetera, et cetera. Could you briefly review that for us?
Yes, sir. So, one of the defining features of this landscape is obviously the lake, the southern portion of the property, which is shared with Arrow Plantation. Sediment and erosion control is a measure that the town enforces on our own, independent of the state, and we employ Lavelle Associates, an engineer, to perform those inspections along with third-party inspection services that are provided by the developer. So there's kind of a 2-tier system. A developer is supposed to monitor themselves, and then rightly so, the town also monitors sedimentation and erosion control. Basically, the silt fences, making sure that mud does not impact our lakes and waterways. While this is a requirement for any development, we felt that these requirements and inspections needed to be more clearly stated and expectations made extremely clear to the developer on how inspections would take place, how frequently they take place, and what we're going to be monitoring. And one of the main things we're looking at is actually looking at the sediment levels in the lake itself. So pre-development, during development, and post-development, making sure those measures remain constant, and if there is an impact, what the penalties are for that. So while silt fences can't stop all sediment, we acknowledge as a town that we want to up our game and do a better job of monitoring these sites. And so these conditions in regards to monitoring these waterways are listed in your conditions.
And just so because I know we discussed this before, because I asked you what the process was. So if this were to get approved and construction starts, there's going to be a third party that's going to be required to do weekly inspections and or depending on, I think it's over a half inch of rain, they have to do that the next day of the lake. And then if there's an issue, they will call you, you will call LaBella. LaBella goes out and either confirms or, says yes or no, that yeah, this is legit. If there is a concern, then the developer is told they've got, I believe, 48 hours. Is that correct?
There's
To remediate?
So there's a couple sections on here that reference that. There's stormwater management, there's erosion control. Erosion control is the largest conditions that the town council had agreed to. It talks about turbidity tests and other measures of these issues, but enforcement actions is kind of the primary meat of this section. So it talks about monitoring, notices of violation or NOVs. That's a state term of when you notify DEQ or other upper agencies of a violation. So that gets recorded on public record. And then we talk about fines and civil penalties in here as well. So our main goal is, yes, we're required to monitor all these sites, but we've heard our citizens that this has been a big issue in the past with other sites in town. And so we tried to address those in these conditions.
And that was the thing that we were discussing, and I know I've discussed it with the town attorney, that if something is detected and it's not remediated within 48 hours, you as the town planner can't issue a cease and desist to the developer to stop any kind of work being done until it's remediated. Is that correct?
I can't be out there every day, but if I find there's a violation, it's the town's
Right.
responsibility to take action on it.
And did I say that correctly? Thank you. Stop work, yeah, stop work order
Yep,
can be issued.
I more than endorse that.
All right.
Done?
Well, for now.
Okay, I have a number of issues with this project, despite what our planner has said that we're full and complete. There is no septic plan for this development whatsoever. The last ones that have come to us have had septic plans showing what they were done, approved by the county. I know that they can go state engineered and do what they want to. They have not notified the county, to my knowledge, that that's what they're going to do. To me, that's very problematic. And if they were going to go state engineered, they should have had their state engineer out there go and look and see if these lots are feasible to do what they do. All they have provided is a soil analysis with some potential septic sites. I have a tremendous problem with that. Secondly, there is no stormwater plan that's been submitted with any calculations. We have some ponds noted on a map. It was noted back with the first application that they were supposed to send a stormwater analysis in. It was noted by LaBella one time. They were supposed to send this in. To my knowledge, it has never been received. I have a problem with that. And I have a problem that if you look at the maps on elevation, I'm not sure one of them, some of these lots could actually flow water to the designated stormwater pond, as this is a septic community, and you cannot grade this to any degree because it is septic. There's no utility easements marked on any map that we have. They got to build this thing. We have no idea where the utilities are going. The lots do not have any true dimensions to them. They say what size they're supposed to be, but they do not say they're this foot by that foot. Seems to me that is a reasonable request. Petitioner has claimed they're going to comply with UDO section 58.520 in regard to the 50-foot stream buffers. If they do that, it's going to impact several lots on their map and make them unfeasible. Therefore, the map is not accurate. The coordinates provided by Toll Brothers are 20 feet off from what Fish and Wildlife says, 20 feet to their good. In that case, it impacts their stormwater pond. That has to be reconciled, that those two numbers are correct and that this circle they show and where it comes has to be done. And I'll say this, when you come to the conditions that are in there, they're asking for, I have no desire to support for a 5-year vesting on this project. 2 years is all I'm willing to go. You know, they talked about they're willing to do our minimum 30% open space, but they're doing this huge open space project, which means they could alter this plan if they want to without having to come to us. I have a problem with that. The pond assessment. They're saying they're going to do it 5 times over the life of this development. This should be done quarterly. If it's not done on a reasonable basis, it's worthless. And we got to have the stormwater management plan and the septic. I just have some real problems with the way this has been presented to us, and that's all I'll say.
My question, Greg, is does every, as I think you were talking earlier about, and now this question of completeness has come up. As far as making a legislative decision at this time on this particular development, is the application complete?
Yes, you have all the information you need to make a decision. You don't
And
have.
you've been a professional planner for how many years?
I'm going on 11 years.
11 years. Okay. And so, as I understand it, because certainly we've all done a deep dive on this in the last 17 months. If this passes and if it's approved, then once the final plans, which cover, I'm assuming many of the things that my colleague just mentioned, you can review that. And if it is not in compliance, you can disapprove it and it will not take place. Am I correct in saying that?
Tonight is a legislative zoning decision. There are numerous reviews and decisions that need to be made afterwards by the engineer and the town planner.
Numerous reviews and decisions further. Okay.
But Greg, I'll ask you, are those items that I specified there not called for in the checklist to be complete?
If you're asking me to say that the application is not complete,
I know
then
you're not going to say anything because once you've made your statement, you won't change it. But I'm going to stand on that the application is truly not complete and these items should be presented to the board, council.
Did the planning board vote? They voted what, 5-1 in December of 24, saying that the application was complete enough for them to make a recommendation. Is that correct?
their recommendation was for approval. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I'm going to say something. Now, everything I'm basing mine off is from the UDO. I'll give you UDO numbers, page numbers, whatnot. And it's all off the sketch plan, not the preliminary plat or the final plat. The sketch plan is where we're at tonight, approving the sketch plan. Okay. I'm going to repeat a lot of stuff that Councilmember Smith just made, but I think it is warranted. I have a problem also with the 5-year vested rights. Even in our UDO, it calls for 24 months. If you go to GS 160D-108.1, we have 12 months if you don't start the project, or 24 months if you start a project and you stop. I have a problem with 5 years. Even in the statutes, it's 2 years. And so I don't know why in the world we're at 5 years. So big issue there. That's a big deal. I have a question in the floodplains, UDO section D917A. It talks about floodplains. That's the section, but we have a lot 39 is the closest to a floodplain. And my question is, we already know that lot 39 is the closest to a floodplain and may even go into a floodplain. Are there any more lots that are affected by floodplains, according to our UDO 9D917?
Well, floodplains can be on private property, but that does indicate that
we're going to allow a house to be built that had a flood issue.
No, a house cannot be built within a floodplain.
Raising the question. Okay. I've agreed to the the tree penalty part of the tree ordinance. Now, I understand you're grandfathered in from the ordinance was created afterwards. I get that. It's conditional, but it is conditional. And so with the trees and trying to preserve what we've got, the canopy and the tree, and for privacy, I say privacy for keeping the trees. I have a problem because I think they should follow the full tree ordinance. And even in our conditions, part of our tree ordinance, they've already gone out and said, hey, we'll do a tree survey. Okay. But in part of our ordinances, we have them to a developer. It has to be, what's the term I'm trying to think of? The Union County arborist goes out and verifies it. There's no verification that's listed in our conditions that I saw. Correct me if I'm wrong. So they can go out and say, hey, we did a survey, but there's no way to back that up. There's no, we need to have the arborist, Union County arborist, as part of our tree ordinance to go out and say, hey, yes, you did. That was marked, and do a check off, and at the end of the project, then to make sure they're there. Right now, you said we have teeth, and I'm pointing at you, I mean to Greg, but we have teeth, but we don't have a way to get there for the teeth. So I think there's a problem with that. I'm going to mention the TIA. Now, this development is slated to be finished before the Ray Road extension is put in. I think the TIA, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, the TIA is based off of the Ray Road extension being there. Bernard Adler with Labella in June 19th of 2024 mentioned that there was inconsistencies with the TIA. Kimberly Horn suggested that an interim TIA be done because of the timeline differences. Because the Ray Road extension coming in later. So my question is, what do? You've got this TIA to traffic impact based off of pre Ray Road extension, and we know what's going to happen when Ray Road extension gets in there. So there's an issue there. Pond testing. To repeat what Tom said, we're looking at 5 times. I mean, what if this development takes 5, 6, 7, 8 years to build, and you're only testing the water 5 times? I agree. It should be at least every quarter, at least minimum. And so, and speaking of ponds, what about the riparian rights? We don't know anything about that. So there's a hole in that. Now I'm going to jump to I'm just going through the septic issue. No, we can't approve or deny on septic. And I get that. That's a state, that's a county issue. That's not us. But we can't approve something and that we don't know for sure what it's going to be. It's like giving you a blank check. Every other developer that's come through, we said, no, we can't approve or deny on that, but at least we need to know what you're doing. And so I'm not sure anybody knows what's going on with that. So even in our UDO, page 105 and 106, it says, and this is under the sketch plan section, so it's where we're at. Septic tank suitability data furnished by the appropriate county health department is a requirement. I don't know if they have that. I haven't seen it. And if it's in the packet, let me know. I don't see anything like that. We just need to make sure it works. And we've got to have this information. There's no information here. Stormwater issues. I'm going to repeat the same thing in our UDO, page 107 of our UDO. It requires a plan, a stormwater plan. I don't see it. And I mean, we had a massive packet of all the information, and there's nothing there. My fear is we'll get into situations like, what Bromley's experiencing, what some of the other developments are experiencing. Then it's like, what do you do there? So there's really no plan except, hey, we have a circle drawn right here, and this is where it's going to be. And I know even it was stated in a meeting that one of those ponds is a higher elevation than the lots around it. So what are we going to do? We're going to do a pump station from stormwater up to the pond. I mean, it's sort of fun. Yeah, and you can't grade it. So there's a big issue there. So utility easements. It's just I have a list. Utility easements. Where are the dimensions and locations of these utility easements? Again, page 106 of the UDO, under sketch plan. We need to have this, especially for the septic layout. Septics are, supposed to be 20 feet apart and 10 feet from the property line. Utility easements, we don't know where they're at. Even Labella. I think Labella made a comment that they're still missing from the packet. If you look at speaking of septics, remote septic fields, again, we don't approve or deny on septic, so we're leaving that out of there. But these septic fields are remote fields, and a lot of them have the stream buffer. How in the world are you going to get over there to them for maintenance, cutting the grass, or anything that you need to do to get over there? I don't see any bridges. I don't see, what are you going to do? Crawl across this creek there? There's a big issue. A lot of stuff missing in this. There's also a lighting plan that's required. That's on page 97 of the UDO. This is required. There's also safety aspects of lighting or lack of lighting in a neighborhood. I'm going to ask this, of the stream buffers, if changed, how will that affect the lot layout? Lot dimensions, UDO, again, page 105 mentions dimensions, dimensions should be there. Don't see it. So there are numerous. I know that our planner has said everything is complete. I don't see it complete. I see a lot of holes in it. I see it as if it's just thrown up against the wall and let's just see what happens, what sticks, and see what we can get through. I have a big problem with all this because there are so many things that's not there, and so many things that's not there that will affect or could affect you drastically down the road. And I just don't want to get into situations of saying, hey, let's approve this now, we'll deal with it later. Well, look at Bromley. Look at some of these other neighborhoods who are dealing with this kind of thing. And I totally, the Deal family should be able to sell their land. And I've mentioned this, great folks. But we've got to make sure it's all there first. And we got to make sure we've got it taken care of up front for a development that could be so impactful in a negative way to people around them. Our goal here as council is to make sure we protect the residents of Weddington. And so we have to do that. The old expression, if all the boxes are checked, or if it checks the box, it's good. No, that doesn't work. We've got to make sure all these are done first. Even the county has made comments that certain things should be required. And that's why we have gone, well, when Keystone held off for several months, because I told them, we've got to have this information before you can come, because we can't give you, my exact words, we can't give you a blank check just to come here and do what you want. So they made sure they had all this. And once they did, it wasn't a problem for the council. So I think there's too many things missing. I don't think it's complete, contrary to what's been stated. And I, I have a big issue, and I think that's where I'll leave it. It's the council's vote, but I think, you look at that, and you look at, land use plan along with what I just said, and it's tough to justify. So
Well,
I'm going to leave it there, and you can go
All
go
right.
ahead, Jeff.
Well, I've lived in this town over 30 years. I've served on the planning board for about 6. I've been on this council for about 7. And I've never seen an application that had as big a list of conditions that have been agreed to by the developer as we have got on this particular issue. Now, I know you keep saying that, well, we can't make a decision on septic, but we talk about it anyway. And when I called the county office, the environmental health office, and spoke to the director, Tracy Coley, and also the supervisor for on-site water protection, Heath Treywick, both of them, when I described what we had in hand, initially, it was when they decided to go away from the community septic, which nobody liked, which, I certainly said was a valid concern. And it went to the engineered units, which we already have in town, the smaller ones that will fit on an individual lot. And then it got changed to the panel block system, which is on the current program right now. Both of them made the statement.
They're both on there.
Well, what they said was that either way, if it's installed properly and if it's maintained properly, it works great and lasts a long time. And as I said, we've already got these engineered systems here in town. I went out, got the addresses of some places that had them, and went and looked at them and talked to the people that own them. And they said they're working just fine. So the septic thing, I don't know why we keep bringing that
The
up.
septic
However,
thing is a matter of procedure
and
right
with the county and them saying
Okay.
they're going state, which they
All
have
right.
not done, but claim they're going to do it.
All right.
They have not filed that.
All right. Again, the planning board has had the same information and they have approved this. Our planner has reviewed it and said it's complete. I know we disagree on that, but every argument has two sides.
Let me ask you this.
Every argument has
I'll
two
just say
sides,
this.
okay?
The planning
And-
board's an
and-
advisory
and
board. We're the
yes,
legislative
I
board who makes
understand
the
that.
final decision. And
But,
that's the end of it.
we do rely on them for their opinions,
They're
do
an
we not?
advisory board
Do we not rely on them for their opinions?
for their opinion.
Thank you.
For their opinion.
All
Let me
right.
ask you
No,
this.
let me.
Okay.
We've talked a lot about, and there's certainly been people at the stadium podium here that have talked about responsibilities. And I don't care what seat I've been in since I've had the privilege of being here, planning board or here. I feel that it's certainly my responsibility to make decisions that are based on objective facts and that is fair to everybody, because there's always two sides to every question, dispute. The old thing about it's a mighty thin coin that doesn't have two sides. Now, since the beginning of this process, and I have listened to the statements at the public hearings, certainly the public meeting that we had last month. I've read emails. And at the beginning of this whole process, I even sat down with the Emerines, Chad and Melissa, talked with them for about an hour or so over there at the Weddington Shopping Center, sitting out there from the bagel shop. And I told them then, as I've told many people during the process, there are valid concerns, that have been brought up with this project. And if I had to summarize it, and many people have again done that tonight, the environmental sensitivity and the wildlife that are present, in this development or what I've been told. Basically, everybody's saying that this is an existential threat to the wildlife and the environment, and specifically the eagles, because anybody that's been following this, I'm sure, has seen the eagle logos, the eagle pictures, and the eagles have certainly been sort of the focus of, we want to protect these eagles. And by extension, I would say the other wildlife that Chad mentioned in the booklets that we got, the herons, the egrets, the owls, a lot of migratory waterfowl that are, on these lakes. Okay, we don't want anything to disturb that. And the basic concern was the water quality. We've got to protect the eagles by protecting the water quality. To your questions about the septic, to your questions about the stormwater runoff, turbidity. Okay. So again, trying to do my homework, I got online and started looking up things about eagles. What does the national wildlife people say about it? And I actually went over to Arrow Plantation, looked around, and it is a beautiful subdivision. I mean, it's absolutely stunning. You've got the man-made lakes, you've got the big lots, you've got everything over there. And Karen, if you can bring up that first picture for me. And what if you'll notice on that picture there, right just below, and forgive me for standing here, but the eagles are right up there, kind of in the corner up there, just to the top. If you go to that top lake, kind of over there to the right, there is an airport that is on. Now, laugh if you will. I've been in aviation over 40 years, and water and waterfowl and aircraft don't mix well. Okay. Now that airport, I did call. I was trying to find out if there were any restrictions. If the neighborhood or if the airport had any restrictions on aircraft operations during this eagle nesting season, the fledging season, that kind of thing. So I spoke to the Charlotte FAA office. I was indirected to the regional office in Memphis. And anybody, if anybody wants the names, I can provide them with who I spoke to. And then I spoke with the North Carolina Division of Aviation office. And basically they said, well, it's a private airport. The FAA does not regulate it, but you'd have to contact the airport manager. And I did. I spoke to Mr. Alan Osborne, a very nice gentleman. We had a really good conversation. And what he told me is that airport averages basically one aircraft movement a day. That's takeoff, approach, and landing. So you figure 5 a week, 30 a month. Plus you have got a commercial helicopter operation that is on that field, Charlotte Helicopters. Google them up, look at their Facebook page. I know I did. Now I asked, Mr. Osborne, I said, and I could not get the traffic numbers from the helicopter guy because he's out of town right now. He won't be back in town until June. But basically, Mr. Osborne told me that there are no restrictions on aircraft operations around this riparian area that have migratory waterfowl. Okay. And that field is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, has pilot activated airfield lighting, 5 clicks on 1 to 23.0, so they can come in and out at night. And all I'm telling you is and the FAA also has specific things they talk about when they're talking about protecting eagles around active airports. And rather than, you can look them up, I won't bore you with all of them, but trust me, there's nothing there. There's no rules, there's no NOTAMs, no airfield advisories, no circulars that have gone out. And I went to like 5 different web pages, AOPA. Again, I can list them for you if you want. So everybody's talking about protecting this environment. Okay, protecting the eagles and by extension these other, wildlife. And I can assure you that bird strikes are a real thing. I have flown for 40 years. When I was at my last
guys,
job,
just be careful.
I
Okay?
was the squadron safety officer. I dealt with bird strikes all the time. So for anybody to say that is not a threat, or that is, and more importantly, it's not an active threat, I don't believe is telling the other side of this story. We're talking about here a lot of things that I've heard my colleagues say here about, well, this could happen, or what if this happens? That's the difference between a potential threat and an active threat, okay? So I got to the point after I'd looked all this up and I had tried to do my reading, but I said, well, let me just go to the subject matter expert. Let me just go to, find out who this person is. And his name is Mr. Tompkins, and he is in the U.S. National Wildlife Service office in Asheville, North Carolina. I encourage y'all to talk to him, because when I called him up, he said, oh, yes, I am well aware of what's going on down with those eagles at Arrow Plantation. He said, I've been getting phone calls all year about it. I didn't have to update him on anything. They're talking about a development. They're worried about the eagles. And so I started talking with him, and I said, well, what do you see? What are some of the potential threats from building a subdivision here that, you would see? I said, specifically, we talked about the septic. And he said, well, the threats you could have from septic systems or septic water is an E. coli contamination that would affect the water quality. He said, but to tell you the truth, Jeff, he said, we have far more issues with eagle areas being affected by E. coli contamination from municipal septic systems, because the pipes are bigger, and when they break, the spills are worse. And then he paused and he said, but to tell you the truth, the biggest threat any eagles have is lead poisoning. He said that's from birdshot and split sinkers. If you fish, that you use to drop hooks, put weight on your hook, split sinkers. And when I got the information from the Arrow Plantation folks, when I asked if there are any restrictions, they said, people allowed to fish and swim and boat. The restrictions down there were based on noise, no motorized boats. Okay. But Mr. Tompkins said that the far and away, an order of magnitude bigger, eagles die from lead poisoning than they ever have gotten sick from E. coli. So to sum it up, I finally said, well, look, with everything you know about this project, what you know that's coming around, can you give me your professional opinion of how these eagles, and again, I say by extension, the other migratory waterfowl would be affected by this? And this is what he said. If you can put that last. Nothing that is planned or is happening is expected to have any effect on that bald eagle nest. And that's from him. That's from Mr. Tompkins. If you go back to the other picture, please, for me. So, yeah, that's the other thing about FAA restrictions. If you go back to the other one. So all I'm saying is this has been a tough 17 months for everybody. And I know that we are all, we've done our own research. We've got our own opinions on this thing. But we have a responsibility to do what's right for everybody. We need to do right by the property owners. We need to do right by the neighbors. We need to do right by the other nearly 14,000 people that live here in this town. And I have never seen an application that has been through this many ringers, this many conditional zoning things, with conditions that can be put on it. And yes, I understand that it's not a totally complete 100% package that's sitting there. But as I tried to mention earlier, I have been told by our professional planner that when that comes up, if it gets passed, then we still have a chance, we still have the responsibility to review it and make decisions on it if something has changed. So, like I said, the goalposts have changed from, it was the number of lots, it was the septic systems, the water runoff. I mean, for the last 17 months, it just seems that there's every time, I certainly think that, well, hey, we've got an answer, everything is done. Well, my goodness, something else comes up that just happens to again, an existential threat to this very sensitive environmental area that has an active airport at it that's open 24/7, 7 days a week. And I mean, anybody wants to talk to me about it afterwards, I'm willing to stick around because that's a real threat. And so why are we, again, getting wrapped around the axle about things that could happen? Well, if this happens, then it's going to be a problem. Well, when nothing has been said for the last 17 months about an active problem. And that's what makes me wonder.
What I hear you saying is, this goes back to a statement that was made in Washington several years ago. Let's just pass it and then we'll read it later. Let's just pass this.
We'll find out what's in it once we pass it.
Exactly.
All right,
And
Greg,
then we'll deal with it later.
do we know,
But
is that an accurate statement in your professional opinion
let
that
me-
we don't know what's going to happen?
we don't. Okay, let me ask you this. Let me throw this out. You're a big proponent of law enforcement, and I appreciate
Yes.
that, and I am as well. As you heard Lieutenant May get up here earlier tonight, he gave all the stats of, this and this and this, all these arrests and blah, blah, blah. The law is, it's not a grade deal. It's like, oh, okay, if you go break into this house, if you didn't take that much, we'll just let you go. Let me finish. So no, the law is black and white. If you broke into the house, you committed a crime. All right. I read to you numerous, and I gave you the page numbers in the UDO of things that weren't there. And so I've heard you say in the past that the land use plan is just a suggestion. So
No, that's
well,
not accurate.
that's what you did.
No, that's not
We can pull up
accurate.
the record.
That's not
But
accurate.
you didn't say that about the UDO. So my question is the UDO a suggestion?
No, the UDO is not a suggestion. What
Okay,
I'm
well, let me
saying
ask you
is-
this. Let me finish. Let me ask you this, because I've waited. So you just said the UDO is not a suggestion. It's black and white, right?
Yeah.
All right. So with all these things missing in the UDO, just like what I read, how can you say if that it's complete, that this application is complete when it's not there?
All right,
So-
I'm gonna finish.
You
with
know what I'm
this,
saying?
And then I'll be done.
So you just,
Why-
you're saying one
why
thing and
then
doing
if it was
another.
that not incomplete, then I really question why the planning board passed it and gave it a favorable recommendation.
Me too.
I really question why a professional
Hey, guys,
11-year
just hold it down, okay?
town planner has said that it is complete at this point for this legislative decision. Now, we don't talk about the UDO. This is a subdivision. And again, the one thing everybody wants here in Weddington is 1 acre lots and big expensive houses. We all know that was discussed in the land use plan and everything else. And this does it. It's got where do we write it down? A density of 0.37 houses per acre. They're building 62 homes on 167 acres. And it's still not good enough. I think it's good enough. I think that for where we are, the gates have been met. And, if this happens, we can't do anything about it. No, I believe that has been addressed. And that's what I've got with it. So,
That's a great address. That's a great.
yeah, we'll agree
So-
to disagree.
I do have two questions. I've spent, as probably y'all have, countless hours on the phone. Karen and Walter and I got on one day and we went through. So these are two things that have not come up that I had not. I did not realize were the 5-year vested rights versus the 24 months. Is there someone from Toll that could speak to why you pursued a 5-year vested rights versus the 24 months?
Sure. It's allowed by
Can you come to the
statute.
mic, please?
It's allowed by statute, but Toll Brothers is fine with 2 years vested rights. So we don't have any problem with making that change. I will just add that a lot of things that people are saying were not submitted. We have consultants here that can talk about it, but things like the septic plan that was submitted, the stormwater plan that was submitted, sent you guys an email about the impact of changing the buffers to 50 feet. That is one lot 330 square feet of a 40,000 foot lot. That's less than 1% that is going to be impacted. So I would just ask if your decision is going to be made on the fact that the application is not complete. The application is complete. We've got consultants here that can talk about it if need be. Thank you. Hey.
Sure. So the second item from my list, out of all the things that y'all listed, the two things that I did not have not reviewed and gotten comfortable with was having an arborist go out to confirm their tree count or tree survey. Can you speak to that?
You have any problem with that?
I mean, I will say that, and I'll let Mr. Price jump in, but a tree survey was done by a professional tree surveyor. They surveyed over 6,000 trees. That has been submitted. The tree plan, what has been agreed to is essentially Toll has submitted an exhibit that basically says, these are the only areas that we will touch. And if we touch anything outside of this, we're subject to the penalties. Now, keep in mind, under that plan, there's something like 78 acres that are undisturbed of the 167. So it's well above what the open space requirements are. There is significant undisturbed area that is already being protected. But with regard to the areas that where homes or septic will be installed, there is an exhibit that spells out exactly, and it's from the envelope of the house, 50 feet behind that, and then the areas where the septic would go. That has been submitted to staff and was part of the discussions on the conditions that have been agreed to.
Do you have any issue with the?
And I don't think Toll would have any issue with someone that the county or the town selects coming out and doing their own tree survey. But again, it is 167 acres with 6,000 trees that have been surveyed.
Okay. Are those two conditions that you're?
Question. You said something about the stormwater being done. Has it been submitted to the town? The fact that it's done is one thing. Is it submitted to the town? Because I'm not aware of it being submitted to the town. Because we would love to see it if you've done it.
The original stormwater concept plan was submitted with the initial submittal. It was a written description.
In February of 24?
No, before that. The first submittal.
The very first one.
The very first.
We had notes back in the record showing that what was provided was inadequate.
I never got that.
Yeah, and we
It was there. The written description of the stormwater, the concept, how the stormwater was going to be handled was submitted with the conservation plan. Graphically, that changed. Graphically, the stormwater is shown on the site plan.
Yeah, your ponds are shown.
The ponds
but the
and
calculations are not shown.
which are not required at sketch plan.
Oh,
Yes,
they are.
I disagree, but
We
We
are
can
here.
agree to disagree.
Yeah.
So your statement is that the plan is viable based on the drawing.
this is the sketch plan. The information that is required within the sketch plan in the Appendix 2B. Our stormwater concept is shown graphically. The ponds are located. They may adjust a bit depending on the grading, but we're not there yet. We're not at civil design. We are at sketch plan level for a rezoning.
I feel the need to interject here. I've been taking as many punches as I can. There's
Guys, please go.
classic. Okay, so no, stormwater calculations are not required at this stage. How water is transferred is required. A stormwater plan is required. That's what's in Appendix 2B, not calculations. Does not say calculations.
I don't even see a plan. I see little drawings on a map.
And
I don't see a
I'm very
plan.
discouraged that you're spending time discussing application completeness rather than the merits of the project itself, its zoning requirements, and its compliance with the land use plan.
I disagree.
We all agree to disagree.
Yeah.
So let's vote. I mean,
Yeah,
like,
I'm to that point.
people.
I
We
mean,
can fuss at each other all night, doesn't it?
yeah. I mean, I have other things I could cover too, but I don't know if it's even worth it at this point.
Well, if you want it on the record, you better get it.
You know, I'll say this, I'll put it on the record. You know, and go back to the tree safe. it talks about that they will not clear, they will only clear the home sites up to, how does it read here? It
50
says
feet beyond the house.
50 feet beyond the house. Okay. I've learned if you don't have everything in there, then there's a wiggle room around everything. And what about, you talking about behind the house? What about, these are 1 acre lots. What about in between the houses? What about, all around? That's not stated, I don't
Did you
see
share
that in
those
there.
concerns with Toll though? Because I know, like, I way back got an email from a Weddington Hills representative, and they wanted their turbidity tested too. So I
Yes.
sent that along, and,
Yes.
and they agreed. So you shared these concerns that you're expressing right now with Toll.
I'm sorry. Say that one more time, Brandon.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
No problem.
You've shared these concerns that you're expressing right now with Toll in terms of like 50 feet on this side or that, all these things that you're listing right now, they've been shared with the developer or with someone from the town who can then relay it to the developer?
No, we sent conditions, and this is what came back. Yeah. So,
But I guess you just said that if it's not explicitly stated in there that they won't adhere to it. Did you say explicitly what you wanted and you feel like it was excluded from the conditions?
no, I didn't specifically say that. No, I
Because you
didn't.
specifically asked for the full tree ordinance that
Correct.
we have.
Correct. And
Yes, and they denied that.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
So I
which
didn't
would
think,
include all that.
right. So,
But they were grandfathered. They didn't
They are.
have to. They didn't have to do what they've done in the conditions they've agreed to.
but last I knew, we still have conditional zoning in the town of Weddington,
Yes,
correct?
yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
Thank you.
Okay.
And I'll say one last thing, the gentleman that got up even made a comment. He said, yeah, we don't have a lot of things complete, but we got people who are here who will talk about it. Or just, did you say something to that effect?
No, that's,
You said something to that effect that,
No, what I said was that all the things that you were talking about weren't submitted were in fact submitted, and that we have consultants here who can speak to it if you have questions. That was my statement for the record.
if they're submitted for the record, why don't we see it?
Again, you said there was no stormwater plan. You just had a consultant come up and explain to you what the stormwater plan was, and your own staff admits that that's a completed stormwater plan for purposes of your UDO. I don't know what else to
Yeah, I
answer
don't
that
know
question.
How else to tell you to look at the UDO too when you submit a plan. But anyway, let's move on. Let's move forward.
yes.
Somebody make a motion
Uh,
in the affirmative.
all right.
That's the way you do this.
We'll do two motions. We'll make a motion to approve it, and we'll,
Well, you do it one way. The way you're supposed to do it is make a motion in the affirmative and it'll go up or down one way or the other. That's it. That is the way to do it, correct, Karen?
all
It's
right.
a motion to the affirmative, so who wants
I
to
make a
Okay.
motion to approve ordinance CZ 2025-03 Toll Brothers Weddington Crossing.
To approve it?
I
Yep.
make a motion to approve it.
No, all that means is a motion. Nobody says how they're voting. They just make it a motion. I could have made the exact same motion with the same effect.
Okay. All in favor of this motion, approving this, raise your hand. Okay, we have two in favor of approving it, all in favor of turning it down, denying it. At this point, raise your hand. We have two, it's 2-2 tie. As mayor of this town, I'm going to vote and side with Darcy and Tom at the opposed to a deny this project. And so the project is denied.
Why? Why?
Aye.
Why? Why? Sorry.
Please. We have one more motion. We have a motion to approve the statement of
I make a
motion of following statement.
It's just the motion of reasonableness.
Just-
He's got to.
Right. Can I have a motion to approve the following statement? CZ 2025-3 is inconsistent with the town's land use plan and not reasonable because it is inconsistent with Conservation Goal 3 and that it poses grading and vegetative clearing in environmental sensitive areas. It is inconsistent with land use policy LU 2.3 and conservation policy C3.3, in that erosion from site grading and stormwater runoff caused by the increased impervious area planned for development create an unacceptable risk of significant damage and injury to neighboring properties. It is inconsistent with the town's land use goal of preserving natural assets and limiting development near natural resources, and that it threatens the habitats of federally protected endangered wildlife. It is inconsistent with conservation policy C3.2, which limits the development to areas of town that have suitable soil, topographical characteristics for development. Can I get a
I'll
motion?
make a motion to approve the statement of reasonableness.
Okay,
So moved.
so moved. All in favor? Okay, and all opposed? There's two. All right, as mayor, I will side to approve this motion. So
It was done.
this motion fails.
Can we take a short break?
Yes, can we, Council, would you be okay
Yes.
for a 10-minute recess?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to take a 10-minute recess.
Not bladder, not last.
I'll call you tomorrow. I'm gonna run aside. I've never seen you sabotage like that in my life. Why did you do that? You said, why did you do that? This is not over. This is not okay.
I was sick.
Ready,
Can we
Jeff?
shut the doors, please?
Brian, thank you so much for coming.
Can we shut the doors, please?
Would you shut the doors? Thank you, Lieutenant May. We're going to pick back up.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you so much. We'll be in touch. Oh, gosh. Here's my agenda.
What are we up to?
Let me get it.
New business.
Okay, we're up to a new business. Discussion advisory board code of ethics amendment. And Ms. Dewey, could you read us, do you have what the amendment is for the planning board for this code of ethics?
Just the amendment.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, just the red part, what's the update? I'm sure I should have given you a heads up on that.
The
I
highlighted
didn't,
part, right?
yeah, I didn't print it out, I'm sorry.
Board members shall refrain from publicly commenting, discussing, or expressing opinions about pending or potential projects outside of duly noted meetings. This includes refraining from making public comments through social media, news media, or in any public forum. Such communications shall occur only during official meetings where all discussions are part of the public record. This standard ensures transparency, preserves the integrity of the review process, and protects the fairness of proceedings for applicants, citizens, and fellow board members alike.
Okay. I'd like to open this up for conversation, discussion. This is a suggestion from our planning board, which I totally agree with, and tweaked by our attorney. And it's just really just tightening up the code of ethics and code of conduct and ethics
So
agreement.
this is what Chris recommended.
Yes, and I
Chairman
think
Chris.
you may have tightened it up and did some tweaks to it.
The planning board actually voted 4-2 to ask council to make this amendment to their code of ethics. And so they considered it during the planning board meeting and then did vote to pass it up to you all for consideration.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Any discussion on it? Any thoughts?
Well, I think Karen, I know that we had that discussion before the meeting, and she was kind of explaining the reasons behind it. With the planning board saying and voting that they want to do it, I have no problem with voting in the affirmative. However, personally, as I mentioned to our attorney Karen here, if you're a resident of this town and you're paying taxes and Kim Woods is cashing your check every year, to me, that's your ticket to stand at that podium and make, your personal, as a resident of this town, comments. And again, I understand the legalities of whatever, but it still gives me pause when there were many comments earlier this evening about a slippery slope, about what we can't say and what we can't do. And again, as I said, the planning board went 4-2. I got no problem approving it if they're all in agreement. But on a personal level, anytime we're restricting what a tax-paying citizen can stand at that podium and talk about, we need to be treading carefully.
I think the difference is they're more than tax-paying citizens. They're advisory board members of the town and have the responsibility that way. And that does put you in a little bit different class than just an ordinary citizen in being vocal that way. And I think it is a fine line. I don't like, frankly, First Amendment rights of anybody, but at the same time, advisory board members need to speak on the record at the advisory board.
And again, that's the way it was explained, and I completely.
And I do want to make clear, though, there is no law against them speaking at, this is simply an ethics decision that our planning board believes supports an independent planning board and keeps the idea or a perception of bias out of their planning board decisions. So no, it is not illegal. So I don't want anybody thinking that that's the basis for the recommendation.
And I have a problem when it appears if a planning board member gives either a television or newspaper interview, a reporter speaking on the record, and it appears that it's coming from the town or it comes from the council. And I think if anything's going to be done, it needs to be the council here that speaks on those records, on the record. And so that's my big concern, is just making sure the planning board is not out there, doing that. And if it's done, it can stir the water. And it's like our attorney says, it needs to be non-biased, and so that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, I agree. We have a very competent planning board, and if this is their recommendation, then I have no problem going with that. What does it look like if there's a violation?
So they would just go through the ethics violation issue. It could be a censor. It could be, depending on how much they want to elevate it, but it could just be a censor. Again, it's you all are control. If it's to the level that the council could certainly terminate that seat if that was the decision.
Right.
Extreme enough.
Okay.
And it's no different than any of the other areas in our agreement so far. It's just, same type penalties. That makes sense.
Yeah, I got it from her. Thanks.
Okay.
Well, any other discussion? I'll make a motion we adopt.
Okay. All in favor? All right. It passes. It's unanimous. Okay. All right.
My favorite thing, the code enforcement.
Well, no, we're not there yet. We've got to go. We pulled out some
Oh, that's
items
right.
of the
You got
consent
those other things
agendas.
to do.
Right, exactly.
Which
So-
are very important.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I'm trying to find it. Give me one second.
Right here.
Sorry. No, I'm trying to find the
The resolution,
resolution.
proclamation.
Yeah, thank you so much. I was going to read it. I want to, we really appreciate our law enforcement. And as we said earlier, we're behind them. We appreciate everything that our sheriff's department does, Sheriff Kathy, our local deputies, even tonight, Lieutenant May, who got up and gave us a report. And so I feel strong about this proclamation, and I'm sure as we all do. So I just want to say thank you for law enforcement and what they do. The Town of Weddington Proclamation P 2025-02. Whereas the Congress and President of the United States of America have designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day, and the week in which May 15th falls as National Police Week. And whereas the members of the law enforcement agencies of Union County and North Carolina play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedom of the citizens of the state. And whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the duties, responsibilities, hazards, and sacrifices of their law enforcement officers and agencies, and the members of those agencies and members of that agencies, that they recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against violence and disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression or intimidation. And whereas the citizens of Weddington recognize and appreciate the contributions made by law enforcement officers at all levels of government. And now, therefore, I, Jim Bell, Mayor of the Town of Weddington, North Carolina, call upon the citizens of Weddington to observe May 15, 2025 as Peace Officers Memorial Day, in honor of those law enforcement officers who, through their courageous deeds, have made the ultimate sacrifice to their community or have become disabled in the performance of duty. And the week of May 11th through May 17th, 2025 as National Police Week. In witness thereof, I hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of the town of Weddington to be affixed to this 12th day of May, 2025. And again, I will say thank you for all of our law enforcement. And can we just give them applause for what they do? Thank you so much. And thank you, Lieutenant May, who is here. I'm going to set this right here for right now. We have a resolution also. We talked earlier about the changes on the state level. Union County Commissioner Brian Helms spoke during comment time about those changes, and I know Jeff has done as well. I would like to pass a resolution and like for us to speak into it as well. A resolution opposing changes to local planning and zoning in House Bill 765 and related bills by the North Carolina General Assembly, R 2025-04. Anybody want to comment? Give us a.
I think the commissioner hit it on the head about what this particular bill, and as I understand, the companion bill, the senator representing. And I can say for a certainty that the threat of the state taking away zoning decisions from local municipalities is quite high right now.
Yep.
I'll say this, I wish more people were here, the left, to hear this, because this is where the real war is. It's in Raleigh. And if they do what they want to do, and I'll say this, if the developers do what they want to do, we will have no power to do virtually anything in this town other than send Greg out to be a enforcement officer. It will gut what we have. And I'll say this, all the developers, their cronies, their legislative paid off buddies is the way I put it, and their lobbyists are working as hard as they can to pass this. And if you need to contact our state legislators in the House and the Senate and tell them in no certain terms, should these bills or any parts of these bills that they try to stick into other bills down the road should be passed. And my opinion is, if any of them support it, we need to find somebody to primary them and get us better representation in Raleigh. Thank you.
Yep. Anything for you
Yeah,
guys?
no, I mean, it's going to materially and dynamically change the way Weddington looks.
Yep. No, you're exactly right. Darcy?
Everybody that was commenting relentlessly on what just happened with that property, your real issue is Raleigh, and everybody might be regretting what happened tonight. So I hope, unfortunately, all the people that need to hear that have left because they got their answer and they're happy and they're moving on. But I hope they're watching tonight and read the minutes.
Thank you. And I plan to cover it more. I have 2 pages of notes from what Commissioner Helms has said, and even his meeting at the county level last Monday night. But I agree with Tom. I'm shocked that one of our own delegates is a key sponsor of this bill, Mark Brody. Dean Art, David Willis, you need to reach out to those guys. And I agree, they're nice guys. But if they follow the leader and vote for this, then we need to, I'm just going to say it, we need to find somebody else that will run against them. Todd Johnson, I understand there's a companion bill, 688 in the Senate, that does basically the same thing. So we need to reach out to Todd Johnson and David Craven, our senators that represent this area. And if you're not representing us, then what are you doing? My thing is, you need to represent your constituents, not big business or the developers or those coalitions up there. So I asked them to reach out if they have any questions, but I asked the citizens of Weddington to watch Who Votes. Start watching it. We didn't think that well, Summerfield, but the down zoning back in December would pass. People said, no, it's not going to pass. Look, there it is. That was like one coughing. So my feeling is, and I think maybe we all have the same feeling, this bill it's not dead. It's just going down the Finance Committee, and it may be October, but it'll reemerge. They may take some pieces out, but they'll start whittling us away till we're nothing. So this is critical, and I can't say that enough. So the Weddington the residents of Weddington need to stand together and fight this. And but I'll pick it back up when I have my town hall meeting. Anything else on this?
I make a motion to.
Well, we're not quite there yet.
I thought we had to do that. Or we got to read it first.
Well, no, I'm not going to read it. Do I have okay, we have a motion to approve the
Make a motion to
resolutions.
approve the resolution.
All in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. Resolution passes. Okay. Next thing on the agenda is, as it stated, the release of the bond for Harlow's Crossing, Phase 1 and Phase 2. Well, Phase 1 and Map 2 and Phase 2 and Map 1 of Harlow's Crossing. I do have a question, and that's why I pulled it off the consent agenda. Let me get to my notes right quick. Sorry. In our UDO, page 165, it refers to as a sinking fund. And that's the fund where a developer will put a certain amount of money. He'll look at the cost of, and correct me if I'm wrong, Greg, the stormwater infrastructure, that kind of thing. And I'm going to make up a number now. I'm just going to make up a crazy number. He's going to say, if it costs $100,000, he has to put 15% into a fund, $15,000. And and the HOA will contribute to that too once the HOA is formed. In 5 years, I think it's something like a third of it has to be funded. In 10 years, it has to be 100%. And you can correct me if I'm wrong on those numbers. But I am not quite sure. And my question is, do we want to release the funds? And I'm going to let you talk here, Greg, too. I want you to speak into this. Do we want to release the funds if we don't know if this has been done? Because if you look at other neighborhoods in the area that's having stormwater issues and that kind of thing, are we setting these guys up for failure if we check into this and we refund them? We have no leverage if the developer has not done what he is supposed to do, and if the HOA is not doing what they're supposed to do. Now, we can't rule over the HOA, I get that. But I think we're just sort of running in the dark here a little bit. So I'm sorry, Greg, can you speak into this a little bit?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. First of all, this was only brought to my attention today from a planning board member. Secondly, the declaration of covenants regarding stormwater ponds, water quality, and water control measures were established in 2016, which are on record with the town. That was the legal agreement saying that their HOA was established to provide for this fund and provide for the maintenance of these ponds. That predates our current UDO by 5 years and is almost 9 years from today. So they have more than adequate time to establish a homeowners association and to establish this fund. Regardless of whether our current UDO would apply to it, I was not able to verify that fact because we had some other things going on today. Lastly, I would state that the request for release of this bond was in specifically those 2 phases and the last 2 BMPs of Harlow's Crossing. This subdivision is done. Everything is built. All the houses are sold. The landscaping is installed. The last item was to verify the ponds. Council's directive several months ago was, before releasing the funds, have the town planner, myself, specifically go walk it, inspect it, and certify it. And I did that with Labella twice because the first time we went out there, it was not done to satisfaction of the engineer or myself. And so we did not approve the ponds at that time. On May 2nd, we did a follow-up inspection with MI Homes and determined that the ponds were complete for UDO requirements. I caution you with failing to release funds that are related to a bond and a specific infrastructure item, those particular ponds, when they have fulfilled that obligation and it has nothing to do with the fund that you mentioned. The bond is specific for those items. We have inspected those items. They are ready, they're complete and ready to release funds.
I guess question, whose response, is it just the HOA's responsibility now to have their fund?
That's a private matter. So there's a public interest in making sure they have enough money.
Yes.
Absolutely. But I think evidence and time has shown that the HOA has been established for some time.
Yeah.
And if they have an issue or if they're deficient on funds, I encourage somebody from their homeowners association to contact you and let us know that fact.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't have any factual basis to reject this bond.
And this was approved well before our UDO that says what they're supposed to do, correct?
Correct. There's a number of phases for this project. They're on both sides of the streets. This project has been complete since I've been here, other than these ponds.
Well,
I would ask
but
our attorney to opine, is there any legal way or reason that we should hold these funds based on not knowing? I'm just asking because I
And we're
have
trying,
no idea.
and I'm trying to just protect the neighborhood and protect the residents in case, if they didn't know. And I'm sure this UDO wasn't just recently. We didn't do this. This has been, pardon me?
What page are you looking at?
165.
That's
That-
all new UDO.
165,
That's the 20
section 58,
21 or whatever UDO.
543.2 down at the bottom of the page, very bottom of the page, it's number C, 4C, 165, page 165. I just don't want to set them up for failure, and I don't want to not protect them if it's something that we're missing here or they've missed, and this is part of our responsibility.
So do we, and I don't know the process, but generally these ponds have a maintenance agreement that exists between, okay, so we have it.
We have the maintenance.
9 years old.
Okay. All right, so probably what's in that maintenance agreement is what the rules are because it's already done. So, and I've not seen any of this and I'm not familiar with this part of the ordinance, and so I'm really not sure what I can say. Generally, I would say these bonds are performance bonds. And so that means that the town is legally allowed to hold those bonds to ensure that the performance, that the infrastructure is constructed to code and works as it's supposed to work. I'm not familiar with anything around it, but I would take Greg's word that is in his, he knows what he's doing on this. And so I would take Greg's position that we've done what we can and it's time to release the bonds.
A memorandum was also shared with you today from LaBelle Associates, Mr. Wilson, detailing the scale and the timing of these bonds and what they're tied to.
Right, saw that. My only question was, you have a maintenance agreement that was signed way back, right? That they're liable for. So the homeowners association knows they're liable for the maintenance of these ponds, correct?
It is signed and notarized, yes.
Signed and notarized, so it's officially it's gonna be their problem.
Okay.
It probably already is.
It probably already is
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
but
And I
They have
know
done their work.
and I ask you because I don't know, Greg, is this something that developers should know when they build that, they're required to put 15% into the initial, of that? And is it something they do, or is it something we need to start making sure they do?
I think having money to maintain your stormwater ponds is the fundamental purpose of a homeowners association and the funds that contribute to that.
But the developer states here, he has to provide 15% seed money to get it going.
I think if that's identified as a town priority, which it sounds like it is, then that needs to be emphasized either on an application form or, further explained in code. Yes, that can be hammered home, so to speak.
Okay. With as much stormwater issues that we talk about and that kind of stuff, maybe it's a good thing to, when the when the subcommittee is doing some of the things, that we could put that in. Is that cool?
Yeah, the subcommittee, I believe, has already looked at some stormwater measures. I'd be happy to include that in their recommendations.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Yes. Thank you. Do I have a motion on this to approve it?
I motion to approve where are we at?
Yes, sir.
Release of bond
For
for
Harlow's.
Harlow's Crossing Phase 1, Map 2 plus Phase 2, Map 1.
Okay. All in favor? Okay. All right. It's unanimous. So we'll release that bond. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Code enforcement report.
In your packet. Is that correct? Town administrator, that we met with Matt, our code enforcement officer, this morning. We're also meeting with them on Friday. I would say that our caseload is consistent, but we are knocking things off that list. There are some serious offenses that we're probably going to have to levy fines or actually hire somebody to correct the measure ourselves, which is a measure we haven't taken previously.
We have levied fines and nothing has happened, so we will have to obey the violations.
Gotcha. Okay.
Thank
And- Okay. All right. Anything else for that?
Nope.
Okay. Update from our finance and officer and tax collector. Leslie, can I get you to go to the mic? So just for the record, thank you. I probably don't like doing it, but I appreciate it.
I actually have a couple of things for you tonight. First, we are in the last quarter of our fiscal year. We finish up June 30th. The April financials are in your packets. We will be presenting next month a final budget amendment for the current year, just to true us up with budget to actual. And we sent out a request for proposal for auditors. Our current auditor has indicated that she's not going to continue doing governmental audits. So at next month's meeting, I should have all the bids in and should be presenting a recommendation of who I think we should go with. And lastly, we have the budget for the next year, fiscal year 26. It's driven by two primary things: the Union County tax revaluation and how we're going to treat trash billing. We got our preliminary balances from the county, and our tax base is estimated to increase approximately 50%. That would equate to a revenue neutral rate of 1.72, down from the 2.5 cents. But staff has decided that it makes sense at this time to bring the trash fee into the tax rate rather than having it a separate line item in the tax bill. It will still be a tax. It just won't be a separate line item on the bill anymore. There are multiple reasons that we've decided to do that. To accomplish that, we would have a rate of 3.5 cents. And that rate brings in the same amount of revenues that we would have with ad valorem taxes and trash fees combined as what we have with the increased rate. So the total budget would be $3,157,000. Of that, 56% is the cost of solid waste and public safety. And the remaining discretionary items that are listed on that sheet, they've been out there for you for several months. And we come down to a net zero budget. So we will call for the public hearing. Well, we're calling for having a public hearing in June. So we're calling for it tonight. This is the budget that will be available to the public to review and have questions on. So if you don't like it, now is the time to change it.
Right.
So,
Question, do you have the number, maybe you do or don't now, of how much increased ad valorem tax we will get based on moving the solid waste fee into the tax base?
yeah, let me see.
Yes, I think it's important for the citizens to know we're going to get a substantial amount more from state tax revenue than we would if we left it the way it is.
Right, because our state collected revenues are based on ad valorem tax levies. If our tax rate goes down, the money that we get from the state would also potentially go down. And so by actually going from 2.5 to 3.5 cents, we might get a big, and I'm thinking that'll be additional revenues we would get. Exactly.
Just by combining them.
Right.
And that will help keep the overall rate lower
Right.
than otherwise.
Exactly.
Is that why our beer and wine income, let's call it that, tax went down this time. It was 50, it went to 45.
On, that number, we don't get that tax until May. So I just budget that low
Oh,
just
okay.
because I don't know.
Yeah, okay,
Right.
that's cool.
Yeah,
I didn't know if that had anything to do with what you were talking about too.
Right. But
you're
yes, that
estimating
is a
$400
number that
million.
would be affected. So,
No, and I think, we need to let folks know, because you just look at it and you see 3.5, you're going to first say, they're raising our taxes.
right.
But we need to, make a sort of a campaign to let people know that, hey, no,
Yeah.
we're not. And this is the way we're doing it, and this is how it's
Yeah,
coming out.
in total, I will specify that in total, the ad valorem, the revenue base will be equal, but there will be some discrepancies between homes just because of being instead of a fee, a rate. And it should be anybody whose house is valued with the new valuation over $1.4 million will probably be paying a little bit more, but anybody less than that will be the same or less.
Gotcha.
And the average home value in Weddington pre-valuation was about $660,000. So with the reval, that puts us right about $1 million as the average. So
Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
When did the RFP go out?
it went out the 28th of April. It's due back May. Can't remember. It's the 6th, May 23rd, I think.
Have you gotten any responses?
I have gotten from the people that do Marvin and the people that do Wesley Chapel that they're intending to respond.
But they have not responded?
That it's not due back yet.
Okay.
So, and then I had a Teams meeting with a firm out of Apex that is planning to respond.
Okay, so there will be some options.
Yeah, and then Anne, sweet little Anne tonight said that she is considering keeping just us. because we're so small.
Okay, good.
So,
be some options.
yeah, she said if we don't get reasonable offers from other firms, that she would consider staying on. So,
Cool.
all right. Anything else?
Thank you, Leslie.
Thank you so
All
much.
right.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Transportation report. CRPTO didn't meet this past month, so really,
Updates from the town planner and the town administrator?
yes, that would be nice too, wouldn't it? I mean, just finish the sentence. And I'm sorry. So there's not really to just talk about on the transportation report. So I'll leave it at that. Sorry. Okay. Update from town planner and town administrator.
If I may, you and I received an email from the Assistant County Manager, Patrick Nyland, about the Union County senior meals,
Union County.
the senior meals folks that were getting meals, free meals from Union County, and Weddington has 10 residents on the waiting list.
Okay.
And I think it was kind of a call to see if we could fit that in the budget. And I talked to Leslie about it, and I thought maybe that was something I would forward to all of you, and we could have a discussion about it.
Okay.
For the senior citizens that are getting free meals from the Union County.
Mhm.
And we have 10 residents on the waiting list that are not getting meals for free.
Gotcha. Is it normally done? Do towns normally do it? Does county?
Wesley Chapel donated enough money to cover their residents on the waiting list, and I believe Marvin is going to, but I haven't heard anything for
How
sure.
much per person is this?
I think it was.
It's
I'll send
around-
you the email. I think it's
around
six.
$2,000. When they
Altogether.
made
No.
a presentation at WUMA about 2 meetings ago, and it's roughly that's annually. It's about $2,000 per person, and that's one meal per week. That's all the FDA stuff like that. But the point they were making when they made their presentation to us was, for many people in the county that have as they've gotten older, they can't drive, they can't whatever. For many of them, that's the best meal they get of the week.
Yeah.
And despite the affluency, the area that they're in is as Karen has mentioned, we've still got 10 people on the wait list, and they are vetted. They do have to apply, and they are, the county does. You just don't sign up and get it. They do vet and make sure that this is legit. So.
Gotcha. Okay. And
I just wanted to put that
not
bug
that
in
we
your
wouldn't
ear.
want to
and
do
I'll-
it, but why would the county not cover them?
I think they have a limited budget for it,
Limited
and
budget.
that's the number of people that are able to get in. So
Gotcha.
Give
Okay.
us the full details.
Yeah.
I've just forwarded. I forwarded it to you.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you. Okay. Anything else? Greg?
I would just note a lot of discussion about our UDO tonight. So the planning board and the subcommittee is still working to revise many of these items that are somehow in debate. And so, again, thanks to the planning board members on that subcommittee. I think they met just last week to discuss some items. So we've got at least 3-4 significant text amendments, including one that was tabled earlier or later last month. That should be coming before y'all to shore up some of these things and to strengthen our requirements and have clear regulations that, Weddington sets this high standard. And just wanted to say it's been an honor to serve you and the members of the Weddington community. So thank you for that opportunity.
If I may add one more thing, I want to give a shout out to Debbie for the fantastic planning she's done for the Food Truck Fridays. We have our last one this Friday. We'll hope we get as good weather as we did last Friday, but that was all due to the hard work of Debbie Corum.
Yep. Thank you, Debbie. Council comments?
Ladies.
Do you want to start?
Oh, yeah, sure. I just want to express my gratitude for the town staff, Karen, Greg, Leslie, Debbie, Kim, who was spoken about tonight. It's just substantial gratitude for the work you do, the way you conduct yourself in all situations, regardless of what may be going on in the situation or what's being said or how others are conducting themselves. You are a true asset to our town. You are a true asset to our council. You are a true asset to me. Thank you so much. And also, I'm not going to be here in June, so I just want to say Memorial Day is coming up. It is a substantial thing. I had my mom over for Mother's Day yesterday. We FaceTimed my younger brother. He was in camo. He was in his helmet. He had his gas mask. He was showing it to my kids. There are so many people who do not have the ability to FaceTime their little brother who is in the military. So thank you to everyone who the Memorial Day, the upcoming Memorial Day celebrates.
Yes.
So that was awesome.
Yes.
I think it was Randy who stood up and said, when someone shows you who they really are, believe them. So I apologize for this long comment, but I do want it on record. Over the past several months, the behavior of some of our residents has had a damaging impact on our staff, this council, and the greater community. I feel compelled to speak on that today. I told you that I'm angry enough that I'm just going to be direct and not get emotional. So that's what I'm going to do. To our town staff and attorney, I want to sincerely thank you. Despite being the target of slander and hostility, you've conducted yourselves with professionalism, resilience, and grace. Your dedication does not go unnoticed. You continue to show up and serve with excellence. We are fortunate to have such a capable and committed team. To the vast majority of our residents, which I find ironic that the five of you of the 60 I counted tonight isn't necessarily who may need to hear this, but to the vast majority of our residents, those who engage with kindness, patience, and open-mindedness, you are the reason we continue this work. Your support sustains us, and we're grateful. To our critics, I ask you to consider a different approach. Rather than dividing, help us build. Rather than attacking, offer solutions. We are not your adversaries. We are your neighbors, working within a complex system, doing our best to serve the community we all share. There's a saying that you can catch more bees with honey, but what happens when the hive is constantly under attack, when mistrust, rudeness, and online hostility replace civil discourse. And any other workplace such treatment would drive good people away, and those who spread misinformation would be removed or ignored, and rightly so. Why should it be different here? When an application is deemed complete for the stage it is in, making us aware of your perceived discretion is helpful, but sending an additional 147 emails, making public comment about it being incomplete, and posting about it regularly does not make it start back at the beginning. Not acknowledging the facts that you are given undermines your message and erodes credibility. Repeated misinformation drown out valid concerns and make productive dialogue nearly impossible. What is helpful is one straightforward email like the one we received from the president of Providence Acres HOA stating what he desired and the 52 families that he represented. Listening to the public is one of our most important responsibilities, but that must be accompanied by mutual respect. Civility, honesty, and dignity are not optional, they're foundational, and without them, voices cease to be heard. Transparency is a frequent demand, and I fully support it. It's one of the reasons I chose to run. But transparency is a two-way street and it requires receptivity. Transparency without receptivity is futile. We've worked hard to keep our processes open and still misrepresentations are spread, half-truths are echoed, and facts are ignored. I have never once questioned my ethics. I came into this role with integrity and that has not changed. But I have learned for some, ethics has come to mean agreement. Agree with me or you're unethical. That's not how life works. That's not ethics, it's coercion. Reasonable people can do and do come to contrasting conclusions even when given the same set of facts. It doesn't make either side evil, it makes us human. Yes, we work for the people, but for the community as a whole, we work for the community as a whole, not just the loudest voices. Your reminders of remember who you work for are not helpful. We got in this to be your voice, but taking the time to read condescending emails from the same group of people stating the same thing again and again only takes away the time that we do have to advocate for you. Our decisions are made with serious consideration of legal frameworks, community needs, and long-term impacts. You may disagree, that's your right, but disagreement does not equal corruption. Behind every title, planner, administration, council member is a human. I am not a politician. I am a parent, a business owner, and your neighbor. Like my colleagues, I serve for a modest stipend of about $300 a month, sacrificing weekends, family time, and sleep. Just a few months ago, I was with my 10-year-old gymnast at our state meet that she worked really hard to qualify. And with 3 active kids, our family is often divided. Because my daughter had fallen asleep on the drive, I returned a call to a constituent and didn't realize I couldn't disconnect from my car Bluetooth. I'm still not certain what the intended purpose of that 22-minute call was, but I do remember the shouting that woke up my daughter was due to me not sharing information that was discussed during a closed session. When my daughter later asked who the crazy person on the phone was, should I have told her that public service means accepting abuse, that leadership means being screamed at for doing what's right? That's not the legacy I want for her or any of our children. When last month's meeting was moved to the high school, some claimed victory, saying that their emails forced our hand. The truth is, the move was already underway. We planned thoughtfully. We do not govern by pressure or coercion. Our staff worked tirelessly to make that meeting run smoothly, and still some criticized them for not filming it, despite the massive logistics challenges they faced. To those calling for moratorium, we legally cannot enact. We demand to those demanding immediate answers but oppose staffing support. To the person who repeatedly suggests that I resign, this seat is in your district. It will be open at the end of my term. If you believe you can do better, please run. Take the late night calls. Carry the weight. Criticism without responsibility is easy. Leadership is not. Leadership is not about personal gain. It's about stewardship. And stewardship only works when it's shared between those they serve and those that they serve. Let's begin telling the whole story, not just the headline. And let's insist on a simple human standard that every resident treat our staff and elected officials the way they would want their own spouse or child to be treated. This isn't just civility, it's the foundation of community. It's the first meaningful step towards building a town rooted in respect, truth, and shared purpose. a place where good people want to serve, and a place that we're all proud to belong. We can demand accountability without cruelty. We can challenge decisions without attacking character. We can disagree and still treat each other with dignity and respect. I believe that is the only way in which great communities are made. Sorry for the long comment.
That was good.
But y'all, it doesn't, like, I'm kind of irritated that we are forced to listen to hours and hours and 4-hour meetings last night. It's 10 o'clock. None of us will get home till 10:30 or beyond. And nobody has to listen to us. And we're the professional, like, we're the people that hire the professionals, and we all stand together. So the more that we are attacked, the more none of us, it just makes it really hard to do the things that are, what we believe are right. And no one should be attacked for believing something different than you do. And certainly not our staff.
Thank you, Darcy.
Okay. Up to me.
Yeah,
I want
it's awesome.
to thank our police presence, which one stepped outside, so he isn't here to be thanked. But we really appreciate what y'all do for us in keeping our town safe. I appreciate the town residents who stayed to the bitter end of this and have been here. And I want to thank town staff for all they do, because this has been a very challenging situation for all of us. And I appreciate what they've done in a very professional manner. Thank you.
Well, I'll finish up simply by echoing again, thank you to everybody on town staff. People just don't understand the work that y'all do for this town. People sitting at this table do. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you, Darcy, for what you said. Honest to God, I couldn't have said it better, because a lot of what you covered, I was going to cover. So I will finish by saying this. And to paraphrase, Weddington may have won the battle tonight, but we're going to lose the war in Raleigh.
Yeah.
If this kind of stuff keeps up, period. And that's all I got.
I want to say too, well, let me back up and say, Greg had mentioned the planning board and the subcommittee. I appreciate Chris Falker, chairman of the planning board, being here tonight. I think that's great to be here and be a part of this. I want to say thank you again to Debbie and Karen. Karen's so humble when it comes to this kind of stuff. You're out there putting up chairs, wrangling people, and so if you guys haven't been to the Food Truck Friday, this is the last one. Last week, I don't think people wanted to leave. All the tables were full, and people were out there till we started picking up stuff, and it was just a great evening. So if you get a chance, this one's the last one. If it's not pouring down rain like it was the time before, come out and just hang out for just at least a little bit and just be a part of it. It was just a great event. So I can't say thank you enough for these two that put this on. So thank you. And I will say thank you to Darcy for what you said. That was very good. And I'll say this too. The council, the staff is awesome. You guys have thick skin and you go through a lot of stuff. So thank you so much. I appreciate and respect each one of you for what you do. And all of your council, I mean, you go through each one, but and legal counsel and our council members, I want to say thank you guys too. I know we're rough on each other at times. We are passionate about what we want, and we fight for what we want. But I respect each one of you guys tremendously, and really appreciate you guys and for what you do and who you are. And I think it's just to me, it's an honor to be here with you guys and be a part of this. Again, no, we fight for what we're passionate about and what we're doing, and I guess that's the game, or not game, but it's part of the thing.
Process.
Thank you, Tom. And so, but again, I appreciate you guys and honored to be here with you. So, with that,
I make a motion to adjourn.
all in favor? All right, it's unanimous. Thank you, guys.